Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a story about what if Deku had the power to change everything part 2. If you guys enjoy this what if and want to see part 3, comment down below. And let me know before I start. Please do support for more awesome content and leave a like. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel. And also share this video with your friends and check out the description in my playlist. The author of the story TirkanZ from fanfiction. So let's start the video. In the athlete's room, everyone was doing their own activities, waiting for the time to be called down to the field, whether it was meditation, small talk, or Midoriya, a half-white, half-red-haired boy, said in front of the owner of the green hair. Make everyone in the room pay attention. What's up, Todoroki-san? Izuku asked. Considering all your abilities, you are definitely a strong person. However, I think I'm stronger than you, Showdown said honestly. However, All Might is interested in you. I don't know why, Showdown said, cutting Izuku off. Before it was announced. But I will beat you. Hero number 2's son's announcement of his status caused the people in the room to be even more shocked than having someone from the general branch declare war. Only Katsuki looked annoyed. Oh, a war between the strongest people in the room? Denki said it without thinking. Hey guys, why are you fighting among yourself? We're friends, Ijuru protested and tried to touch Showdown's shoulder. But Showdown rudely slapped his hand away. Before continuing in a cold voice, I'm not here to play with anyone. Everyone felt uncomfortable with this expression. While the atmosphere is coming. Todoroki, there is no doubt that you are definitely strong. You can freeze an entire building in the blink of an eye. That's on another level with normal students, Izuku said calmly, and looked at the white-haired person with determination in his eyes. All right, I accept the challenge, but don't lose to anyone first. Every student in the room was excited by the talk of the two strong men in the room. Minus Katsuki, who was silently complaining to himself. It's about killing and defeating all the supporting characters. Minoru was the only person in the room who noticed the dangerous behavior and immediately backed away. All students can now come individually to the field. An announcement over the loudspeaker caught everyone's attention. Are you guys finished talking? Because I will also say that it doesn't matter who wins. Because I will be the one who will stand on top at the end of this job. Katsuki growled at the two. Then she walked out of the room before anyone else. The rest soon followed. During this time, there was no discussion. Until finally, they all walked onto the field with other students and were greeted by President Mike. The most fun sports event in the country, where trainee heroes compete against each other to compete for first place. U.S. Sports Festival. Ready go. The sounds of fun and excitement can be heard throughout the stands at this once-a-year sports event. And if I were to guess, everyone is waiting to see their performance, right? Rookie, who has to face the real villain and survive. The future of heroes. Give them some voice. Hero Course, Year 1, Room A. Another cheer sounded as the students of Class A walked out of the tunnel and appeared on the big screen. Then it was an announcement to the rest of the room. But it's so simple that it can be viewed as biased. And it's not wrong. Which caused Room A to be repulsed by other rooms. The stadium area is now filled with first-year students from all fields of study. Everyone was excited by the large number of viewers. And soon, a young hero walked onto the stage. She dressed so sexily that it made some people blush with embarrassment. And some people wonder if it's appropriate to be a caregiver to a high school student. That girl is Midnight, a UA professional hero and teacher. All right, please invite the representative of the contestants to come up and say something. Midoriya Izuku of Class 1A. Midnight announced. Countless eyes stared at the green-haired teen. Izuku sucked in a breath and closed his eyes for a moment, before exhaling and opening his eyes. Then he walked onto the stage with a calm expression, amidst the roar of the crowd. I'm pleased to be a class representative, Izuku said into the microphone, looking around. I think everyone expected to win this event. Whatever the reason, at the end of the day, it is a sporting event. Everyone should enjoy it. Good luck to everyone. Thank you. Izuku finished speaking and bowed slightly. Then he walked off the stage amid the applause of the entire stadium. Not even students from other classes were excluded. Very well said, Midoriya-kun. Ochako congratulated him. As worthy of representing the class, Tenya said, waving his hand stiffly. I don't even want to think about what it would have been like if Bakugo had spoken, Minoru said softly. Ah, why do I say so? Ballhead, Katsuki growled at the smaller man. You see, if you talk, I'm sure the other rooms will hate us even more, Minoru said tremblingly as he hid behind Mizo's legs. That is a wonderful statement. But we won't waste any more time. The first event of this year's sports festival is. Midnight said this and turned towards the rapidly changing screen. Before stopping and revealing the name of the activity, obstacle running race. Or the original name, Death Run. The cheers of the audience echoed throughout the stands. Is that really a name that should be used at a sports event? There was a loud murmur from the group of competitors. How did he change his name? Another voice replied. Midnight then explained the competition this time. Only the first 40 people will advance to the next round. With a total distance of 4 kilometers, the rules were simple. As long as they stayed on the track, they could do whatever they wanted. But don't be too harsh. For those who want to show off their stuff, this is their time. The contestants cheered and gathered in front of the exit. The 3 lights began to go out one by one. As everyone was ready to run out, Izuku thought back. He remarked upon seeing how small the exit was compared to the number of contestants. Everyone is stuck at the entrance. He quickly realized the problem. The last red light is about to go out. Are you ready for a run? Because it's about to start. Present Mike shouts through the speaker. Izuku summoned a power-up and waited. Everyone was prepared and focused on the last fire. Go! As soon as midnight landed, the students rushed towards the exit, causing chaos in the tunnel, just as Izuku had thought. And because of that, he was spared from being frozen by Endeavor's sun. But there were many people who were able to escape from the ice in time as well. When he saw that the situation had calmed down, Izuku started to move. He jumped back and forth between the 2 walls of the tunnel. In addition to eliminating the need to slow down due to obstacles, he also increases his speed with each jump. Finally, Izuku reached the end of the tunnel, and his accumulated speed sent him hurtling past many people struggling to balance on the ice. Izuku fell to the ground. Then keep running until you pass the first curve. Just to stop thinking to myself, he knew that he could definitely catch up to those in front of him if he put in all his effort. But he didn't have to. It is well known that sports events require more than one competition. He wasn't sure how long he would have time off. But from what I've seen every year, the final match will be a one-on-one battle. Therefore, he had to conserve as much energy as possible. What should I do to win with the least effort? And then Izuku smiled, thinking of the highlights of the school that his homeroom teacher had said. Uniqueness, and what Midnight said before the match started. Free to do anything, as long as it is on track. Izuku turned to look at the forest behind the wall. He remembered from the map that on the other side of the forest was also a running track. And it is also the entrance to the finish line. If your feet don't touch the floor, you're not yet off the treadmill. A crazy thought popped up in Izuku's head. If someone like Katsuki could fly through the air without breaking the law, whatever he does should be the same. This way, he doesn't have to compete with others and waste time and energy. In the end, it's never too late to show off your talent in the final round. Izuku, thinking this way, started running in the opposite direction with the others, ignoring the many surprised looks on his face. Until, near the wall, Izuku stopped running. He channeled more energy into his legs, before shrinking down and then jumping up. It was like a spring being ejected. All of that force sent the bright youth flying through the air and across the forest that was blocking the two tracks, before he later fell to the ground. I rolled on the ground for a while and then was able to get up. Then he continued running and entered the tunnel to the finish line, much to everyone's amazement. It would not be an exaggeration to say that the entire stadium fell into silence, because no one expected such a thing to happen. Even the teachers who were watching. "What are you doing to her?" Midnight, who had not yet left the stage, decided to ask the first finisher. "You said you were free to do anything as long as you stayed on the treadmill. And my feet have never stepped on any surface other than the treadmill. So I thought there would be no problem flying over the obstacles. Because the forest is also an obstacle," Izuku said, smiling at Midnight, and his voice could be heard throughout the stadium as the microphone was still on. What is this, Eraserhead? How devious are your students?" Present Mike cried out loudly. "Midoriya is right. He looks at the situation and makes reasonable choices. Why waste time and effort when there is a more economical route to both? But the results are the same," Eraserhead said in a tired voice. Fortunately, the director went to watch the third-year competition. Otherwise, he would have definitely seen a creature that was a mixture of many animals laughing hysterically while sipping coffee. Just the fact that he had to sit in a room with the most talkative person in the school was more than enough. "That's it. And number 1 belongs to Midoriya Izuku, hero course," Midnight announced. The crowd made noises of confusion. Both cheering and cheering. Some people don't want to accept this kind of method because it doesn't seem like a hero. Not flashy in the way desired. As opposed to the hero agencies, who seem to be very interested in the quirk's creativity and abilities. Business students who did not compete talked about the value of this troubled child. "What do you think of Midoriya? He didn't show his full strength. Therefore, his current value is not very high. However, it's another matter for those who get first place in the entrance exam. Maybe in the second and third rounds we can assess his true value." The business students nodded at their colleagues' words. "They never change," was the thought of one hero who overheard the business students talking. "Shit, that bastard. You're so crafty," Katsuki growled before increasing the frequency and intensity of his blasts to make him fly faster. "This is not the time to save hard. The second one must be mine," Shoudo thought as he created a path in the ice and slid quickly. "Midoriya-san, do you play like this? I need to boost my engine a bit." Momo quit running and started building an electric skateboard. "That's some really cool outside-the-box thinking," my test assistant, May laughed. "Definitely. Class A guys like this are clearly cheating." The iron-bodied person from Class B roared out. Everyone was now aroused by Izuku's actions, causing them to hurry even more than before. As a result, the competition will become more intense. The competition still continues. Viewers were thrilled by the contestants' quirks that were used to overcome the obstacles that appeared, including destroying robots, crossing the ravine, and running through a field of bombs. And it is certain that Izuku is keeping an eye on everyone's quirks. They are all competitors in the next round. Knowing what you will face is a form of preparation. You can also add information to the notebook. "Oh, what is that? Why were they carrying a purple-headed person like that?" The ability to enter the shadows is really cool. He can use other people's quirks as well. Copying. That girl can release mushroom spores. So this zooms in on the object. There are also separate body parts. How does it work? Can you move your body without connecting to nerves? There are only interesting quirks. Midnight watched in horror at the sound of Izuku's murmuring storm. Luckily, she had turned off the microphone. Otherwise, the whole country, if not the entire world, would have the same experience as her. And the last person has come through. Izuku looked at the first 41 competitors to cross the finish line, some of them looking relaxed, some of them breathless. However, there was no longer time to rest. Midnight immediately announced the second round. It's a headband competition. Form a team of 2 to 4 people. Then compete for other teams' headbands to collect points for advancing to the next round. But there are only 4 teams with the highest scores. And just like in the first round, everyone is given the opportunity to use quirk fully. But if you harm others too much, you will be disqualified. An additional rule is that the rider's feet must not touch the ground and not leave the marked area of the field. Before the team was drawn, each person's score also appeared along with Midnight's description. Increases by 5 points according to rank, starting with the last person with 5 points. Everyone had started thinking about their scores even before the announcement on the screen. Okay, it's just simple math increments of 5 points. We were ranked number 1 out of 42. I must have 210 points. Izuku quickly calculated his score without needing to look at the score on the screen. But Midnight smiled sadistically. That's not even close. Midoriya. First place is a little special, because he will have 10 million points. After Midnight's announcement, the 41 contestants also stared at Izuku with predatory eyes. Their needs are one and the same. Want to get 8-figure points for your own team. Either way, that means that with 10 million points, winning this round is completely guaranteed. A voice was loud enough for everyone here to hear. Of course. Midnight nodded and continued to announce, whoever has 10 million points in their possession until the time expires will pass. Without any problem. Now it's time to create your own team. You only have 15 minutes. As soon as Midnight started the timer, everyone dispersed to find teams. The second and third places are very fragrant, as opposed to number 1, where people only look at you but don't approach you. Because with that many scores, it will make every team a target. And snatching points at the last second is better than having to protect them for the entire competition. Shit got played until it was worthy of Yua, however. Izuku was still able to smile. He had an idea of how to get through this situation. All that was left was to gather the team members he had in mind. After team creation, time expires. Headbands that included the scores of all the team members were also distributed to different teams. Izuku's team, besides him, consisted of Momo, Ochako, and Mei, which wasn't exactly what he expected. However, it is considered usable. His original goal was to get 𝐒𝐴𝐺𝐵's younger brother to take the lead and use his speed to evade the rest. But Shadow had already reached out when he went to Momo. Ochako plans to join his team. And the last one is Mei. Artifacts, or what she called children, were no different from having additional quirks. They discussed the meeting like any other team, waiting for the time. I will lead the way. My power-up abilities would be more useful as a rider, Izuku offered, starting to divide up the work among the girls. Uraraka was on the right. Her ability to nullify gravity would be very useful when combined with Hatsume's jet. On the left to Hatsume, it's time to show off her equipment. Yaoyorozu will be the rider. This is because her object creation ability requires a lot of concentration to bring out its full potential. Does anyone have any other ideas? Everyone on the team shook their heads, because Izuku's positioning made sense. Then it was a plan to bring us victory. When the preparation time was over, all teams were arranged to stand outside the field and wait for the announcement. And you can start. Midnight lands on the whip again. The start signal sounded. All teams then ran onto the field, and they all head toward the team with the most points. They are both launching attacks and running straight at them. As I thought. All right, plan A, Izuku said. Everyone on the team nodded in unison. Ochako uses her quirk on Momo and Izuku. Momo presses a button to activate the jetpack on her back and Ochako's propeller-equipped shoes. This allowed their team to take to the skies and dodge most of the attacks. Only the Shadow Bird, Jack, and Vine followed up. But it's not high enough. They soon dropped to the ground in a secluded area. But as soon as they landed, 2 more teams rushed towards them. Minoru's team transforms into armored tanks using glue balls as bullets. And the other team were people from Room B who were able to make the ground liquefy. So they had to take off again. To meet Katsuki, who flew in. What? You're so high, you bastards. However, Momo immediately uses her harpoon gun and shoots it at Katsuki. The tip of the harpoon split into a net and trapped the fang-haired person. But before Katsuki could fall, he was pulled back by his own team. Izuku's team lands safely. But in exchange for broken propeller shoes and a jetpack ready to return to its old home, according to the shoes, but damn, this is clearly escaping an ice explosion, Izuku muttered as he saw that Shoto's team was in front of them. And there were less than 10 minutes left. I can't let you escape. It's time to take care of you, Shoto said in a cold voice. It looks like it's time to use that plan, Momo said when she saw the situation starting to get bad. Ah, go ahead, Izuku approved it without hesitation. Momo quickly untied her headband and took off her jetpack. She tied it together. Before pressing the button, the jetpack flew away with 10 million points. Everyone except his teammates were shocked. I didn't expect this to happen. What is this? Ieyasu suddenly threw away 10 million points. Present Mike cried out. It's a very clever strategy. You left out anything that would make yourself a target. Eraserhead followed up. But it would also be suicide if they don't have enough points to pass. The teams now all headed in the direction the jetpack was flying. Not even Shoto's team had to go and get them, leaving Izuku's team alone. Very crafty, Midoriya-kun, Ochako said. Ah, no, my children, Mei cried out in regret as she saw the jetpack take off. But the children of yours were able to shine in front of the whole world, Izuku told the female inventor with a smile. The footage of nearly everyone in the stadium chasing after the jetpack was actually broadcast around the world. He believes millions of people have seen Mei's logo on the jetpack. It must be some faker's plan, Katsuki said irritably, and he tried hard not to explode the 10 million point headband in his hand. Not after he risked flying after the fucking jetpack out of the field. All right, next target. You half-colored bastard. Bakugo, I'll take that headband, Shoto said as his team ran towards Katsuki's team. Let's try it. Look, you two-colored head, the latest owner of 10 million points announced as he tied a cloth to his head. First, we need to get rid of the clutter, Shoto said softly, and he created an icicle that stabbed into the ground, channeling his power to freeze the nearby team and create a wall of ice blocking Katsu's team's escape. I'll give it to you too. This is terrible, Mina cried. Damn it, this isn't manly, Ijuru moaned as well. What are you afraid of? This ice is so lame, I can easily explode it, Katsuki declared. Ida, are you fast enough to take us to grab the headband? Shoto asked the person in front of him. I have a secret move that greatly increases my speed, but it will only be 10 seconds. After that, I will hardly be able to run, Tenure replied to his team leader. Along with sharing your own thoughts. We have to use it while we don't have much time left so as not to be taken back. I think so, Shoto nodded, before entrusting the task to someone else. Takoyami, you must protect Zero's tape. At the same time, try to grab the headband if I miss it. No problem. The owner of the Black Crow nodded along with his alter ego Shadow. Kaminari, if I tell you to, then you'll let out all your electricity. But won't you guys be in trouble? Denki asked worriedly. At least Bakugo's team will lose their mobility and not be able to retake the points, Shoto reasoned. Okay, good. Remember, we can't fail, Shoto announced. After discarding your own points, Izuku's team wandered around the field and easily snatched the other team's headbands because everyone was too focused on the team with 10 million points, giving them a chance to move around to collect points. Until the final minute of the competition had passed, Izuku's team was able to collect hundreds of points. So it's time to show our cards, Izuku said. In the next second, a headband with 10 million points appeared on his head. Momo did the same. Before, she took both headbands and tied them to her forehead for the people counting the votes to see. We have to do this because if one or the other is not counted or both are not counted as votes, they would still have more than 700 points to win in Momo's case, creating something new, and in Izuku's case, it's a replica of the original. The time is almost up. Who will get 10 million points? Team Todoroki will be able to protect it. Or will Bakugo's team steal it back? We'll find out soon. Hey, what is this? Why are there 10 million points for two teams? No, where did the 20 million points come from? President Mike's voice stopped every movement on the field. Their eyes widened in shock. 20 million points belong to Team Yaoyorozu. How is it? President Mike asked on air. Everyone is still confused. I know, Midoriya's ability is to duplicate objects, and Yaoyorozu can create objects. Therefore, no matter whose work it is, their team also had 20 million points in their possession at all times. Eraserhead explained, Is this possible too? President Mike shrieked. Sure, once again, no flashy display of power is required to be successful. It's just like Midoriya did in the first round. Why waste effort when there is an easier way? Eraserhead explained. Before concluding, oh, yes, time is up. Before the President Mike made the official announcement, time's up. Okay, who will be the 4 teams that have qualified for the next round? The crowd cheered, many of them impressed by the glamorous 10 million point battle. At the same time, I was both admired and surprised by the method used by the team that was the former owner of the first $1 million scorer. Now all the contestants were on the ground, listening to what they already knew. First place definitely belongs to the Midoriya team with over 20 million points. Everyone on this team breathed a sigh of relief that their points were not erased. Second place. By working hard in the battle, it fell to Todoroki's team, aside from Denki, who acted a bit silly. The rest of the people didn't show much. Third place also works equally hard. But you have to try harder, Team Bakugo. Everyone on this team had a happy expression. Except for Katsuki, who was angry as if he was going to kill someone. And finally, hey, this is another dark horse. Team Shinso. The members of this team all had expressions of confusion and puzzlement. Except for the team leader, who was sneering. Izuku looked at the last team with various thoughts. He actively avoids this team. Because of the quirk that the owner of the purple hair displayed, it was doubtful that the other party would have any type of control power. And because I don't know the conditions, so he didn't venture closer. All you can do is look and analyze the possibilities. Is that hypnosis? It seems like you have to use your mouth. Maybe the trigger is speech. If it prevents them from speaking or blocks their hearing, then they might be able to resist. He expressed his thoughts after gathering the information he had gained throughout the competition. If his hypothesis was correct, it was both frightening and amazing. Who likes to be controlled by others? At the same time, controlling others is the desire of many people. With this kind of power, it could end a battle before it even started. And that's a concern when the third round is a one-on-one fight. Going into battle with little information like this has a very high chance of being attacked. As for other people, he wasn't too worried. Because it is a physical quirk, you can clearly see the work. I'll have to ask Ojiro and Mashirao more during the break. Izuku planned to learn more about this common student. And considering that his room was repulsed by other students, asking general branches probably won't yield anything. What are you mumbling again, Midoriya-kun? Ochako asked with a worried expression on her face. Oh, sorry, I just had something to think about. Izuku closed the notebook and made it disappear along with the pen. Thinking about a new baby. Mei said it with a smile on her face. causing the rest of the girls to be shocked. He shook his head. No, don't say such misleading things outside. Midoriya Izuku, let's go eat, Momo offered, gesturing towards the contestants lining up towards the exit. All right. Izuku and Ochako nodded in unison. I would like to leave because I have to prepare the children. I'll give it to you along with the competition, 𝗵𝗃 said. Let's go eat first, 𝗵𝗃. Izuku broke the mechanical girl who was walking away. No need. I have a dietary supplement bar, Mei said and immediately walked away. Ha, troublesome inventor. Izuku complained. You seem really close. Momo asked. Ochako acted intently, listening. When I went to get my dress repaired, I saw crazy things like that. But she's a true genius. What she created must be considered creative. Izuku replied, praising himself. The two girls nodded and braced themselves, thinking they might have to fight that girl in the next round. As he walked out of the field, Izuku separated from his group of friends to go to the bathroom, and as soon as he was finished, he left using the nearest exit, but when he reached the corner, he had to stop. After hearing two familiar voices talking, Todoroki and Baka. What do you want to talk about, a half-colored head? Katsuki asked angrily. You made me suffer and almost broke my promise, Shoto said, looking at his left arm. Huh, what promise? Katsuki still didn't understand, and was getting more and more irritated with the time he was wasting. My father endeavor. I did everything to be better than All Might, but it wasn't enough. Shoto began to tell his story. Until finally he realized that he couldn't do it by himself, so he planned. If you're going to tell me about your father, then just shut up. It's a waste of my time, Katsuki shouted at the person in front of him. You know marriage is a quirk? Shoto asked with a calm face, but didn't wait for an answer and continued immediately. It is a marriage between people with a quirk to create an heir with a powerful quirk. In my case, father chose mother because her quirk could strengthen his quirk, not out of love and seeing me as just a tool to fulfill your own dreams. Young Todoroki touched the scar on the left side of his face. My dear mother used to say that my left side was so disgusting that she threw boiling water in my face. That's why I vowed not to use that old man's quirk to become the #1 hero. Katsuki was silent for a moment before speaking. You stupid bastard. His face turned extremely angry as he wasted his time listening to the nonsense of a bastard who only used half his power but wanted to be #1. Are you looking down on me? Do you think you can beat me and become the #1 hero with your half-assed power? Listen, and remember in your head that I will be the #1 hero. If you are not willing to use your full power, then withdraw. I'm not happy to win against someone like you. With that, Katsuki prepared to walk away, but was stopped by Shoto's voice. You're just like my father, Shoto said in a calm voice. It gives me more reason to beat you. Shit, I'm not your father. Katsuki said that and continued walking. At another angle. So Todoroki has both fire and ice, thought the green-haired teen, who had been eavesdropping on other people's conversations. He wasn't sure how he should feel about the other person. Whether it's pity and sympathy for the past that the person has encountered or being annoyed with people who want to be heroes but limit their own abilities, it won't be a problem if it's a competition between heroes. But when there are people who need help, what? If the other party didn't use their own fire, it would probably lead to people's deaths in the end. After the sports event, I have to go talk to him, or I have to let the teacher know. Izuku thought to himself that he wasn't going to let this go quiet. As Izuku was walking in the other direction, he was greeted. Midoriya. Yes, Todoroki. It turned out to be the person he had eavesdropped on calling. How much did you hear? Shoto asked. Guess that's all, Izuku replied. Good, the bi-colored-haired teen nodded. So I don't have to say it again. So let me ask you something. What do you want to ask? Izuku said. The lecture between them suddenly became tense. "Are you All Might's secret child?" "Huh." Izuku made an idiotic sound with a wry expression on his face. After the break, there was a timeout activity for everyone to relax before the main event, which was a one-on-one battle, with many of the finalists choosing not to join in the fun because they had to prepare for their own competition. The opponent had been announced earlier, but it wasn't with Izuku, as he had said as a student representative that everyone should enjoy the event, so he went down to join in the action, whether it be the giant ball rolling competition, finding things according to the words given, fencing with marshmallows, climbing cliffs, and capturing flags. When the intermission event ended, it was time for the main event that everyone had been waiting for. Be it ordinary people, heroes, or even villains, they all look forward to future hero battles. This is the moment you all have been waiting for in a one-on-one fight. Present Mike shouted on air, followed by cheers from all over the stands. The first match is a very interesting match. Ashido Mina from the hero course versus Shinzo Hitoshi from the normal course. The announcer repeated the names of the first pair once again and explained the simple rules as the two namesakes walked into the arena. And it can begin. After the voice of the pro hero who used the voice died, Na ran towards her opponent but soon stopped, much to the bewilderment of the onlookers. What happened? Why is Ashido still standing still? Present Mike asked, not understanding. On the seat side of room A, even though he didn't show anything outstanding in the last round, now he looks really scary. What exactly is Shinso's quirk? No, I warned you, Ashido, Mishiro roared. What is this? How could he do that? Minoru said it in shock, while the rest were equally shocked. Mind control. Izuku's answer made those who heard it tremble in fear. What? Many people cried out. Why would such a crook like that go to a normal branch? Minoru asked, and some of them nodded along. It's no use against robots, you idiot, Katsuki said angrily. Yes, Baka is right. Because robots are machines, they cannot be controlled as they do not have hearts or minds. He does not have enough points to be in the hero course, Izuku explained further. So when he said he would go to war with us for a seat in the hero course, he wasn't joking. Rakido recalled the purple-haired boy from the general course's announcement with a shiver. It's not as scary as I thought from the information I've gathered. He needs to have a conversation before he can control the target. If he doesn't answer, there shouldn't be a problem, or he needs to deal with it before he can speak. The only thing I have to worry about is accidentally retaliating against him, Izuku reassured his friend. However, they could only watch as their classmate walked off the field without doing anything. It couldn't be helped that if she just followed her friend's advice, she would probably win. Shinso advances to the next round. The second pair was a walker who was defeated by Ibara, a girl from Class B. The teen who unleashed the electricity probably didn't expect that the electricity wouldn't be able to penetrate the vine's defenses before being hit. Unable to survive, the third match was between Shoto and Tetsutetsu from Class B, which ended quickly. Even Tetsutetsu's body was made of steel, unable to resist the huge glacier high above the stands. That's a bit too much, Izuku thought as he looked at the glacier a few inches in front of him. The fourth match is Ochako and Yuka's battle, where Ochako is able to dodge the beam and reach the other before sending the beam shooter flying in the sky, and the latter soon gives up after trying to make a move. Hopeless in midair fifth couple, Izuku couldn't help but smile at Mei and Tenya's battle. Mei used her many tools to defeat Ingenium's younger brother. Tenya might be fast on the ground, but he is unable to do anything if his opponent was in the sky, at least not in the open. Tenya could only run around the field dodging rubber bullets before being caught in a net, and the bubbles quickly hardened into cement. At least she didn't advertise her child during the fight according to our instructions, Izuku thought after watching Mei start introducing the equipment she used. The sixth pair, Izuku, felt a little sympathy when he saw Momo lose to 𝗵𝗃𝗁𝐷. someone who was also able to create objects. Momo seems to be building much more slowly than him, as well as fixing the initial situation that didn't work well. Maybe he can give some advice later. In the 7th match, Ijiro and Hanta initially used the tape to gain an advantage and nearly won by dragging their opponent out of the ring until Ijiro regained his footing and ripped the tape. He tied himself up and grabbed the remaining part of the tape to pull the owner of the tape towards him. He ran in and punched him without stopping until the user of the tape gave up. Next, it's our round. Izuku watched the battle end on the TV in his room. He got up and prepared to walk out. I never thought I'd be able to fight Baka this quickly. The last match of the first round. The boy with endless anger from the hero course, Bakugo Katsuki, battles the cunning prince of the hero course, Midoriya Izuku. The two young men walked up to face each other on the stage as Present Mic announced. Looks like I got my revenge sooner than I thought. Deku, Katsuki smiled ruefully. I wouldn't say that, Baka, Izuku shot back with a sneer. And you can start. Die, Katsuki shouted as he threw a sweat bomb. Izuku avoided it without any problem. Katsuki roars and charges towards his opponent with the momentum from the explosion. And he swings his right arm out when he's close enough. However, not only Izuku was within Katsuki's attack range, but Katsuki himself was within Izuku's attack range as well. It was Izuku's sparkling foot that crashed into Katsuki's face, first with enough force to send the person hit to the ground. But Katsuki quickly got up and pointed his right palm. Along with shooting an explosion at the target, Izuku saw it and swung his arm to create wind to block the explosion midway. A curtain of smoke from the explosion spread across the area. The owner of the bomb looked around the field before ducking to dodge the kick that swept across what should have been his torso, and using the grenade to push himself away to avoid the heel. Feet that fell from the sky. Izuku rushed after him, without giving the bomber a chance to catch his breath. But Katsuki manages to escape once again before using the grenade to fly into the sky above Izuku's head, turning both hands in opposite directions to the ground, and dotting. Fire to drop like a shooting star. Izuku jumped in time to dodge and thought in shock at the other's greatly increased speed. So he used gravity to increase his speed. Suddenly, his eyes widened when he saw Katsuki use a grenade to follow him almost immediately. The owner of the green hair hurriedly raised his arms to block the explosion that struck him before being thrown almost to the edge of the arena. Izuku quickly recovers and begins analyzing the situation, while Katsuki fires a barrage of grenades, giving his opponent no time to think and pushing him out of the zone, putting Izuku on the defensive. I can't help it. Damn, they fight even more fiercely than in training. This is so manly, Ijiro exclaimed. Their fighting instincts are on another level. 𝗵𝗃𝗲 expressed his opinion, which was accepted by everyone. All right, but Bakugo is amazing. Using his quirk continuously and with such intensity is difficult for Midoriya, Kick said in shock. Midoriya-kun. Katsuki lowered both his hands with a gasp as he stared at his opponent, who was still standing. Deku! The grenade boy roared and pointed his left hand back to shoot himself forward. At the same time, Izuku launched himself off the ground and flew towards the other party as well. Realizing he was within range, Katsuki detonated another blast, spinning in mid-air to add momentum to his legs before kicking out. Izuku saw this and crouched down and raised his arms to defend the attack. The green boy sagged slightly when the other person's leg collided with his arm. But once he regained his footing, he gathered his strength and pushed the other person away. Katsuki rushed back. But Izuku was faster. A forearm sparkling with electricity collided with the boy's abdomen, exploding, sending him hurtling back the way he came. Katsuki struggled to get up because of the tightness that filled his stomach. Izuku didn't let the opportunity go to waste and rushed after him to finish off the battle. The fang-haired boy's eyes widened in shock as he pointed his palms forward and shot out continuous bursts to prevent them from reaching him. but it was useless as a flash of green light shot through the rain of explosions. 𝗵𝗃, upon seeing him, didn't hesitate to shoot a grenade, sending himself flying backwards. He narrowly avoided being kicked, but Izuku bounced off the ground and quickly rushed towards him. 𝗏𝗃 then raised his right hand and prepared to fire a grenade at the incoming attacker, but realized that it was not enough to stop him. So he turned the palm that was detonating the grenade to the right, in order to deflect himself to the left, thus avoiding it. Izuku's hand went again. However, Izuku twisted his body to the left and kicked the ground, following the exploding boy. Seeing that he had no choice, 𝗏𝗃 fired a large barrage of explosions, continuously stepping back to keep distance. But Izuku ran past the explosions until he reached him and grabbed both of his wrists. 𝗏𝗃 spreads out. 𝗏𝗃 quickly responded by slamming his own head into Izuku's, which caused nothing more than his own head to hurt. Izuku grinned before returning the headbutt, making his head hurt. 𝗏𝗃 waved behind him, looking dazed. The green-haired boy then did something that would make men around the world watch the match and grip their crotch in terror. 𝗏𝗃 screamed after being kicked through the pieces, and when the kicker released his hand, the egg kicker fell to his knees on the ground, holding his hand between his legs. Izuku raised his foot and slammed his heel into the head of the person who was suffering from the abuse of his beloved's object, until his face was buried on the ground and he fell unconscious. Bakugo is broken. Midoriya has qualified. I wasn't blindsided by what Midoriya did, right? Hanta asked. Dude, you're definitely not the only one who saw this. Cruelty has happened, Midoriya, Minoru said in a trembling voice. That must hurt, Kyoka commented. The first pair of the second round began. Shinso Hitoshi fought Shiozaki Ibara. Many viewers expected that the girl from Class B would be controlled and walk off the stage like an alien-themed girl. But what happened on the field was that the vines from the priestess rushed towards her opponent. Almost immediately after the start, the signal ended. The green thorns moved to life and trapped the purple-haired boy in bonds that he struggled to break free from until Midnight declared her the winner after Shinso was unable to move for a long time. But even then he received his word. Watch from viewers who were able to make it to the second round. It's like they already know Shinso's weak points. Izuku looked at the seats in Class B, who were cheering for their friends, and looked back down at the field. You need more than that quirk to be a hero. The second match was a fight between Todoroki Shoto and Uraraka Ochako. Shoto quickly ended it by sending an ice wave that froze the girl in gravity before she could do anything. Izuku had no opinion on this pair. The third pair belonged to 𝗏𝗄𝗵𝗍 and Tokoyami 𝗵𝗃𝗍 at first. It seemed like a victory for 𝗵𝗃𝗍 considering how he was able to knock out a girl from the support course. But he was defeated by a flash blast that caused his shadow stand to shrink. He returns and loses his sight, which gives Mei a chance to counter with a combo from her own artifact. And she ends the fight by shooting a net that traps the boy and emits a beam of light. She repeated this to stop the shadowy duo from emerging and destroying the net. Then advertised her creation before walking off the stage, closing out the second round with Midoriya's pair. Izuku and Kirishima, the two Ijiro, ran towards each other with their enhanced bodies. Izuku attacked him in the face, while Ijiro did the same. They continued to punch each other, jump him and leave, exchanging hands and feet, showing the audience their bare-handed fighting abilities. The exchange of fists seemed to have no end as neither side was able to deal any serious damage to their partner, so the viewers thought that it would depend on who would run out of energy first. However, he had to change his mind when he saw how the green-haired boy's punches were starting to cause his opponent to be pushed back, and the red-haired boy's futile attempts to stand up to his punches. More violence, and the result finally came out when Ijiro was sent off stage. The battle of the semifinals immediately began, as the pairing of young Todoroki and young Shiozaki ended with another wave of ice, swift and decisive, trapping his opponent in a cold prison of ice. Cool. It's exciting the first time it's shown, but becomes boring when it's used more than once. Then, the second pairing of Midoriya and 𝗏𝗡𝗵 caught the attention of viewers once again, as it wasn't every year that we saw students from outside the hero curriculum make it this far. This made them curious to know what the female inventor who had defeated 2 hero students would use against another hero student who seemed almost invincible. "To be honest, with all my children, I still can't fight you," Mei said with a lot of equipment on her body. "Are you going to give up?" Izuku asked. "No, at least let me do my best first so that my child can shine," Mei announced with determination. "Good. Then come in with everything you have." Izuku launched himself directly at Mei but barely dodged her with his mechanical arms. As the mechanical arm was called back, Izuku caught it and pulled it back, causing Mei to shake off the mechanical arm to prevent herself from being pulled along. She then began flying and drew her loaded gun. A rubber bullet came out to begin the strategy she used to take down 𝐒𝐽𝐽𝐫's younger brother. But it wasn't a problem for the green-haired boy. Izuku, who uses reinforcement, doesn't just have more physical power, but his senses had also been raised to match his physical strength, so he could dodge the rain of bullets without any problem. Mei threw the gun away, picked up a flash grenade, and threw it at the ground. Izuku creates a mask to protect him, but he still loses his sight and hearing. Mei took advantage of Izuku's confusion and flew down, grabbing him with her mechanical arms and dragging him towards the edge of the field because maybe this was her only chance. Before long, a voice came from behind, and a pulling force made her unable to continue flying. "I'll admit, you almost got me." When Mei looked back, she saw that Izuku was resisting the pull with his eyes closed. He slowly took a step back, causing her to be dragged along with him. But this time, Mei didn't free her mechanical arms. Instead, she pressed the jet full throttle to continue flying, turning into a game of tug-of-war. The halting of the scene lasted only for a moment before Izuku did something that would decide the outcome. He relaxed his strength and caused himself to be dragged. But he used this opportunity to destroy the mechanical arm, and then jumped out towards Mei, grabbing her in mid-air and slamming her to the ground in a straddling position. "All right, is there anything else?" "No, I'd like to give up." Midnight brought down the whip and announced the results. 𝗏𝗡𝗵 surrenders. Midoriya is the winner. Izuku got up first and helped Mei get up as well. Then they shook hands, smiling, and walked out amidst cheers. After this battle, Izuku has a 30-minute break for the audience, which is time to go use the bathroom or get something to eat in preparation for watching the unmissable final battle. 30 minutes had passed, and there was an announcement for the contestants to enter the arena. Todoroki Shoto fighting Midoriya Izuku was projected onto TV screens throughout the stadium before cutting to them walking up. "Come on stage." The two stood facing each other at a considerable distance. It would be dangerous to let Midoriya move first, so be quick and decisive, Shoto thought as he looked at Izuku. Todoroki would definitely open it by sending an ice wave. It wouldn't be a problem to dodge, but Izuku looked back. "Let's start." As soon as the signal sounded, Shoto opened fire by sending a rapid wave of ice towards Izuku. But triggering reinforcement isn't slow either. Izuku raised his right arm and punched out, then added his strength again, causing air pressure to shoot out of his fist. "Air cannon," Izuku roared. The ice wave stopped immediately before shattering into pieces and rushing back towards its owner with a howling wind that caused the person who sent the ice wave to raise their arms to shield their faces and create a pillar of ice to push their backs. The entire stadium fell silent, and the audience's jaws dropped to the ground. "That was crazy. He has such power. Why didn't you use it earlier?" Spectators in the stands commented. "Damn it. He just swung his fist, and a gust of wind created it," cried out one spectator. "What? Midoriya destroyed the ice like it was nothing. What a brute force." Present Mike spoke out. "Do you have anything to say? Eraser is your student. I have no comments." Okay, Midoriya's value has definitely increased now that he has shown both raw power and brains, one business student said, still stunned. At first, I thought he wouldn't be a destructive force, but that was obviously wrong. With this kind of power, he would truly destroy the competition. No one would be able to resist, another business student commented. Damn it, I didn't think I'd have this stick, so I mustn't have the chance to attack, Shoto thought as he sent a second wave of ice towards his opponent, only for the ice shards and strong wind to be sent back at him. Time. Shoto let out a cold sigh and sent another wave of ice, but the effect was still the same. Oh my gosh, they fire such large attacks like it's normal. You guys also explode with powerful attacks so often. You guys are too complete. Ijiru questioned. Katsuki. Damn it, I can't do this often, Katsuki said, still unable to melt from the arena. If I do it too hard, the muscles might tear. If I use it too often, I'll be exhausted. The quirk is that parts of the body have their limits. As he spoke, Katsuki thought about his own battle and the reason for using support equipment to amplify the explosion. True to you, then this match is an endurance race. Ijiru expressed his own opinion. If both of them continued to unleash powerful attacks like this, whoever reached their limit first would. Lost? I don't know, Katsuki said, annoyed. Part of it came from knowing that his opponent wasn't being true to him. The other part was that he wasn't strong enough to take the other person seriously. And the last part was just his personal nature. But Midoriya was unexpected. I didn't think there would be a secret move like this, Hanta said, remembering the first lesson in combat practice. Like All Might, Tsuyu said. Everyone thought about it but didn't say it. You can do this all day, Todoroki, Izuku said. But I don't want that. So I'll end it now, Shoto said with a stern expression as he sent an ice wave towards Izuku. But this time he didn't stand still. After the ice wave was destroyed, he created a path of ice that shot straight up into the sky. His face was diagonal, and he ran up before jumping down in the position of punching Izuku. Izuku jumped back in time, only to find a wave of ice rushing behind him. I'm not afraid, Izuku whispered before punching out a blast of wind that shattered the oncoming ice and pushed Shoto back. While I could do this many more times, you can't seem to take it anymore, Izuku said as he noticed that Shoto was shaking with ice covering part of the right side of his body, even though the other person kept a straight face, but couldn't hide it from Izuku. Don't worry about me, I'll beat you no matter what, Shoto said sternly, glancing towards the audience. Even though Izuku wasn't looking, he knew who he was looking at. Win? Without using fire? Izuku asked. There was a slight change on Shoto's face, but Izuku ignored it and continued. What will it prove? Prove that ice is enough to win this task. That is, I don't need fire to be the #1 hero. Shoto replied coldly and sent a wave of ice towards Izuku. Izuku shook his head tiredly before destroying it like before. I already told you that you couldn't take it anymore. Huh, you're pretending to say this, Midoriya, but you've already reached your limit too. The wind's been stronger these days than last time, Shoto said. And Izuku just smiled when he knew the other person had finally noticed. At this moment, his right arm was trembling with pain. After all, the power of this level of strong air pressure was still too much for his body to bear without any problems, and he did it 6 times. In a row, it will definitely have a negative effect on your arm if you continue to do it. It's easy to forget that a quirk is also a part of physical ability. Whether you, or anyone else has a limit to how much quirk they can use, you have the power to balance your own body. With the power of fire and ice, even though they conflict, they support each other. Izuku said, alternating between clenching and opening his right hand before clenching it tightly. But you didn't use it and said you would be a hero, even though you limited your abilities. Shoto gritted his teeth and growled slightly, but Izuku continued. How would you tell people if you couldn't stop a villain that you could just use fire for? But you didn't and let it cause damage or escape. What kind of hero will you be? Shut up, Showdown shouted, cutting off Izuku's words. You want me to use fire. My father bribed you to say this, right? Showdown ran in angrily, forgetting that Izuku also had close-range abilities, which caused him to get a hook punch to the stomach and be sent flying. But he got up and delivered. The ice wave returned, only for Izuku to destroy it with his left punch. True, my right arm may have reached its limit, but my left arm can still do at least 5 more hits. What are you going to do? Todoroki, your ice isn't enough, Izuku said. Shut up, Showdown roared and blasted a huge wave of ice towards Izuku. The stadium fell silent as the enormous ice cubes towered above the roof of the stands. Young Todoroki gasped heavily as the bite of the ice became more intense than before. But his eyes widened when he heard the sound of cracking and saw cracks in the ice. He jumped backwards as a hole in the ice surface exploded. It was the skill of Izuku who continuously punched forward to break the ice, preventing him from being pushed off the stage or frozen before being able to create a path out of the glacier. Seeing this, Showdown shot another small wave of ice. But Izuku dodged it and quickly rushed towards the left side. Startled, Showdown drew out his left hand and burst into flames before he stopped and received Izuku's sculpture in his face, causing him to bounce off instead. As the ice user was about to fall off the stage, he used the ice to support himself and create an ice slide, allowing him to quickly slide towards his opponent from the side, but was rushed into by the green-haired teen. A kick breaks a path through the ice, forcing you to stand on the ground. He's so fast, how could I forget? The son of Endeavor was soon shaken from his thoughts when he saw a blur of green light. He didn't hesitate and sent out a pillar of ice to the left because he knew that the other side would come at a weak point, only to find out how fragile his ice was. Izuku's kick easily cut through the ice shield and into Showdown's midsection, sending the ice user's body rolling on the ground several times. Previously, Midoriya was on the defensive, but now he has begun to attack. The present mic informs the audience. Endeavor took a sharp breath and stared at the battle below, annoyed at his youngest son's bratty rebellion. If you had used fire from the beginning, you wouldn't be in this situation. It wasn't that he didn't know why his son did this, but if his masterpiece wanted to be a hero, he should use everything he had, not just to defeat other heroes, but to help people as well. So he only had to accept his fate as the man who would defeat All Might and become the greatest hero. Speaking of All Might, that kid Midoriya's power is very similar to All Might's, although much weaker but still special. Hero number 2 thought. Including power, response, speed, and wind from the punch. It was as if the green-headed kid on stage was a miniature version of All Might. Maybe a secret child. It would make sense that All Might would suddenly become a teacher, and that would prove his superiority over All Might if only his son would win. But as shown today, his son is still very far from the target. You've had enough of me. If you insist on not using fire, then I'll end this fight, Izuku said as he watched his opponent struggle to get up. Fight instantly. Why? Showdown said, his voice shaking. Why are you trying to make me use that guy's fire? Showdown couldn't help but grit his teeth and think of his own bitter past with the flame and his father, how it had ruined his childhood and taken his mother away from him just because of his father's insane ambition. Why? Because you want to be a hero, right? Izuku replied. Showdown was taken aback, so he continued. I was once like that stupid kid who didn't want to use his powers. Izuku thought back to the day he said he would be a hero without using his quirk, because the kids teased him that his quirk was just a copy, had no value in itself, and was not fit to be one. He's a hero, so he hates his quirk and wishes he didn't have it. But thanks to his mother, he has learned that his quirk is more than just a copy of being a hero. It doesn't matter if he has one. What kind of quirk is it? Just using it to help people is enough. So he would say the same things he did when he was a child. Izuku, This power is yours. No matter what anyone says, it is your power. Don't throw it away. Use it to become a hero. That fire is your power. The fire that comes out of your body belongs to none other than yourself. Izuku said this to Shoto, who was shocked. Is it my fire? Shoto whispered, remembering what his mother had said. It's okay, Shoto. You are not bound by blood. You can be anything you want. Shoto remained silent with all the information that came his way. It's my fire. It's mine, not my father's, and I am me, not my father. Suddenly, red flames erupted from the left side of his body, so hot that the spectators in their seats could even feel the heat waves radiating out. Ooh, the fire's hot all the way here, Ochako exclaimed. He finally used it, Tenya muttered in surprise, remembering when Shoto said he wouldn't use fire. Unbelievable, besides ice, his fire is also very powerful and very manly. Ijuru almost shed tears. So what will Midori-chan do now? Tsuyu said it with concern. But what happened? They stopped fighting for a while. Hey Gyro, did you hear them talking? Denki turned and asked the girl with the best ears in the room. Everyone in the room wanted to know as well. I can only say that Midoriya got Todoroki through his problems, Kaio answered as best she could, not wanting to talk about anyone else's personal problems. He helped his opponent. Midoriya, you're such a man. Ijuru growled through tears. Shut your fucking mouth, Katsuki growled. Shit, you did something stupid, Deku. Don't lose. Oh, so you're worried about Midoriya too? Ijuru protested. I told you to shut up, Katsuki hissed. Are you crazy? You came to help your opponent during the match, Shoto said as the ice clinging to his body began to melt from the heat. Yes, I want to be a hero in my own right, and I can be. But if you want to win, you have to go through me first, Izuku said. They all smiled at each other, ignoring the sound of hero number 2 shouting happily. I don't know whether it will be from now on or not. Shoto slammed his foot on the ground and planted ice on the cement base as the flames continued to burn fiercely. Me too, but since you've broken your limits, I might need some help. With that, Izuku created a white glove and put it on his left hand. This was the equipment. Support that Mei made, which supported many times the normal bounce power. Izuku then sent energy throughout his body at full power as wind and lightning swept around his body. After holding back to stabilize his power, Shoto sent a large wave of ice at Izuku. Izuku then punched out with his left hand. Although this wave of ice was larger than the previous one, it stopped, shattered into pieces, and flew back to its owner with a strong gust of wind than before. Izuku's performance at a sports event caused Shoto to create a wall of ice behind himself to avoid being blown away and use fire to destroy the ice missiles before they hit him. After the wind calmed down, Shoto saw Izuku running towards him. So he raised his left arm that was engulfed in flames and stretched it out, completely melting the ice around him into steam before raising his glowing palm, which was extremely hot. His face shot out flames that condensed into the shape of a large beam of light. Before the final attack, he muttered, "Thank you, Midoriya." Izuku, on the other hand, cocked his left arm and punched out. What they do today will be talked about for days to come. A cement wall rose between the two, but it was not enough to stop the pressure of the wind and flames. They crashed through the wall like cement was just pieces of paper and collided with each other. The explosion was so violent that some spectators were nearly blown out of their seats by the force of the wind. Many professional heroes had to rise to protect the spectators from the ice and cement fragments that were blown up. No one wanted to believe that this was the power of a child who was not yet 20 years old. The power they possessed was insane. Many professional heroes could only dream of this level of power. Just destruction power isn't all good, but this is quite amazing, Cementos complained from the side of the stage. What is this? Your class is crazy. Present Mike said to his partner while lying on the floor that many of them had fallen off their chairs. When the extremely cold air encounters a sudden burst of heat, it expands. And when combined with the intense wind pressure, we have a recipe for destruction. Eraserhead stated in principle, the huge cloud of smoke after the explosion concealed everything in the arena from outsiders. Everyone was waiting intently for the outcome this time, and soon the smoke began to clear, revealing the area in the middle of the arena. Destroyed until there was nothing left of the original structure. The other picture was of Shoto with his left shirt completely torn off, leaning against the ice wall close to the edge of the stage, and Izuku standing with his guard in the shape of a cross, just far from the edge of the stage on the other side. Just a little bit. His upper body was bare, and some of his pants were torn off. Both of them are still on stage, even though the stage is no longer in its original condition. Present Mike spoke out, followed by the audience's cheers. Izuku lowered his arms slowly. Shoto quickly got to his feet and swung. Both a wave of ice and a flame immediately hit Izuku. Of course, Izuku swept it away with the same air pressure as usual. Izuku clenched his teeth as his arm ached. He had to hurry and end this fight. The green-haired boy formed a gym shirt over his body and ran out. Fire and ice were released in return, but he dodged and continued running without missing a beat. Shoto quickly created a wall of ice in front of himself, but it was meaningless. The wind pressure in the melee destroyed the barriers and hit those hiding behind the walls, flying them off the stage. Todoroki leaves the stage. And we have this year's winner, Midoriya Izuku. The cheering sound of the audience echoed throughout the stadium. Izuku looked around with satisfaction, knowing that one of his childhood dreams had been fulfilled today. Before he collapsed from exhaustion, he tried to regain his balance and raised his clenched right hand to the sky like his idols usually do after big battles, then let himself fall, trying to maintain consciousness so as not to expose yourself to the air. Somewhere. Teach your successor well, All Might. It seems that our war isn't over easily. Yoichi. The king of villains sarcastically said that once again he had failed to finish off the One for All user before transferring his brother's power to someone else. But it's not just you who have a successor. I have one too. The over 100-year-old man looked into another screen that was showing a video of his apprentice. Izuku stood on the first pedestal, while on the second pedestal stood Shoto with a calm face, and standing on the third pedestal were two people. Ibara, who was holding his hands in prayer. The quiet god stood in contrast to Mei, who looked extremely excited. Now it's time for the medals, Midnight loudly announced. And this year's medal winner is... Ha, ha, ha. Hey, that's... Appearing on the roof of the amphitheater with his unique laugh, made the crowd even louder and louder than before. All Might, our number one hero. All Might jumped onto the field. I am the one who has come to present the medal. The number one hero said as he stood up tall and with a smile that was as unique as his laugh. He took 2 bronze medals from Midnight and walked up to the third-place winner's podium. Congratulations, Miss Hatsune. All Might put the coin on Mei's neck and hugged her. You have the ability to create things and use them to create opportunities for victory. You will definitely be a potential hero. But I think you would rather be a support equipment maker. So good luck on your chosen path, and keep creating cool things to help the heroes. Thank you, All Might. I will have many more children if you have time. You can always go to the support department. Mei said excitedly. His eyes sparkled. All Might was a bit taken aback by her words, make a child, but he laughed it off and thought to himself, such a strange little girl, just like Melissa, who acts excited when it comes to creating inventions. The next person to receive the medal, hug, and praise from All Might was Ibara. You are also very talented with a kind heart, and with such a versatile quirk, I have no doubt that if you continue to try, you will definitely become a good hero in the future, little Shiozaki. Thank you, All Might, Ibara said with a shy expression on his face. All Might came down from the pedestal and took the silver medal before walking up to the second rank's podium, where the son of the second rank hero was waiting. "Congratulations, young Todoroki. You must have a reason for not using fire. I won't dig, but being a hero requires giving everything you have and going above and beyond to help people. I hope you can get over this problem. You can find it privately. Thank you, All Might. I want to be a hero like you, using only half my power." "It was a wrong idea," Shoto said, looking at the ground. Before looking up All Might, "From now on, I will use all my power to become a hero like you." All Might smiled and hugged the boy in front of him. "I'm glad you thought of it. Good luck on your path, young man." And it came down to the last person to receive a medal. "You did well today, young Midoriya." All Might handed over the gold medal, followed by a hug. "You have shown that in addition to strength, she also possesses a sharp intellect and out-of-the-box thinking, which are essential to a hero's work. Therefore, continue to strive to improve your skills. I have no doubt that in the future, you will be a good hero." After finishing speaking, All Might pulled back and winked knowingly. Izuku immediately knew that by improved skills, All Might meant air pressure punching techniques. "Thank you, All Might." He felt so satisfied that he almost floated, as if he had been hit by Ochako's quirk. His childhood dream had been fulfilled once again. All Might then turned to address the audience. "And here are the 4 winners this year. But please remember that everyone who entered all competitors has the opportunity to stand here. As you can see, they compete, push, and develop themselves to reach higher levels to become the next generation of heroes. So let's give them strength." People were filled with excitement as they prepared to say the famous slogan of the U.S. school. "Everyone speak to me." All Might said as he raised his arm and pointed his index finger in the air. 1, 2, and... Everyone who was influenced by their emotions raised their hands and roared. "Plus Ultra. Thank you for your hard work." Eh. The viewers and contestants were shocked that All Might didn't say what they thought. "It has to be Plus Ultra, right? All Might." Everyone in the stadium spoke in unison. "Ha ha ha ha, goodbye everyone." All Might said so and soared into the sky, leaving everyone helpless after the moment was ruined by their own leader. The next day was a school holiday, and UA gave all students 2 days to relax. This was not the case with those who made it to the finals, especially those who performed well. They found themselves greeted in public with praise and encouragement, or even asked for an autograph. Izuku even had to wear a hat and glasses to conceal his identity when he went outside after being surrounded by people. After a long break of 2 days, they had to go back to school, which started the school day with the most favorable weather conditions: rain. Izuku stood in a train car that was filled with a damp smell of rain, which was understandable because it was raining. "Excuse me, but are you Midoriya from U.S. Hero Branch, who took first place in the sports competition that year?" A normal-looking man asked the teenager. Having spoken like that, the person being mentioned became the focus of the entire train's attention. Izuku cursed his own misfortune. He said there was no one to greet him, and he would soon arrive at the station where he had to leave, not expecting that someone would suddenly recognize him. In fact, the people on the train already knew Izuku. He had green hair, green eyes, freckles under his eyes, and was even wearing a UA student uniform. With this kind of personality, it wasn't difficult for people to recognize him just because, being considerate, I didn't think to go in and say hello. But once someone opened it, it was normal for many people to follow and begin to express their own opinions. It was amazing to come out on top in every round. I was shocked that she found a way to win a race like that the first time anyone had done that. The headscarf game was more than expected. I was on the edge of my seat as she blasted away waves of ice with overwhelming power. That last attack took my breath away. Izuku had to admit that he was truly happy that people were interested in him, even though it was too much, but it was indeed unavoidable. Choosing the path of a hero was no different from being a star. sing, and become famous overnight. Izuku could only listen and respond as he saw fit before getting off the train. But he didn't even send another wish that he had to thank. After leaving the train station, Izuku walked towards Yua under his umbrella. On the way, he met Ochako, who was also holding an umbrella, so he went to say hello. "Good morning, Uraraka-chan." "Good morning to you too, Midoriya-kun." Ochako said it with a cheerful smile on her face. "How was it along the way?" Uraraka-chan, Izuku asked, seeing that his friend was unusually cheerful. "I was so excited. On the train, there were people talking to me. I never thought this day would happen." Ochako said shyly, "It's the same. We'll probably be the center of attention for many days." "That's right. Today, Aizawa-sensei said he would give out internship applications. I'm curious to see who they'll get." "That's right. But who do you want to intern with?" As they walked through the school gates, a loud voice called out from behind, causing them to turn around to look. "Good morning, Midoriya-kun." Uraraka-chan, Tenya, in a raincoat, greets them and runs past. "Ida." Izuku and Ochako could only watch as their friends ran towards the school building. "Should we hurry?" Ochako turned to Izuku and asked. "I don't think so." Izuku shrugged. So they continued walking as usual while talking about the internship that they had left behind. It turned out that Ochako wanted to intern with a fighting hero because she saw her own weaknesses in the field and wanted to improve. As for Izuku, he will go with the heroes who help him in battle as well. Midoriya-kun wants to apprentice with Mirko. "Yes, I am interested in your leg fighting style, but it is a pity that you do not accept apprentices. By the way, Mirko is famous for solo acting, even though she doesn't have any partners or agencies. Yes, it's amazing that she made it into the top 10 alone." It took a while for the two to finally reach the school building. They collected their umbrellas and changed their boots into sneakers, then walked up to the classroom, where they found their classmates having a chat session. "Fun. Because of sports events, we have become famous. These past 2 days, everywhere I went, people greeted me." Denki blurted out his words. "Yes, there are people looking at me. It made me almost die of embarrassment." Toru said excitedly as the sleeve of his shirt moved around his chest, indicating that the invisible girl was covering her cheek with her hand. "I was told, try to enter next year as well." Mina laughed. "Same for me." "Me too." "Hey, good morning, Midoriya, Uraraka." Ijiro was the first to greet, followed by the rest of the group who were chatting. Before the two of them could reply, the sound of the door opening rang again, catching the attention of everyone in the room. They knew that Izuku and Uraraka were the last ones, so if there was anyone else who would enter this room, it must be. "Good morning." "Good morning, sir." The class of students responded to their teacher in unison, with everyone sitting neatly in their seats. It happened too quickly. No more than 5 seconds after the classroom door opened, seeing who had walked in, they hurriedly canceled it. "Things you do and return to your own place." 5 seconds. This time, it's better. Eraserhead praised his students as he walked behind the podium in front of the class. "That's good. You can take the bandage off now." Master Aizawa. Tsuyu congratulates her homeroom teacher for seeming to be recovering well. "Well, Grandma's healing power is amazing. But more importantly, today's hero information class will be a bit special." "What?" Everyone was shocked and thought there would be a quiz. "Hey, don't think too far ahead. Today, you will have to name your own hero. And about the internship, this one is cool. It's very exciting." Before the teacher could finish speaking, some students showed signs of joy in their faces and gestures. Quiet Eraserhead spoke quietly, activated A's quirk to intimidate the distressed students with red eyes, and continued speaking. "Like I said before about the internship request from a professional hero, this is directly related to the results of sports events. but it is not the end. An internship is a way to introduce yourself to the hero community. If they perform satisfactorily, it will be a score on their profile that will help the hero office consider employment opportunities after graduation. If they don't want to do a single show. After explaining, the anti-quirk owner displayed a list of the names of people who had received internship offers. This is the result of what they did at the sports event. The board shows how many requests each person has received. Midoriya Izuku, 4,990 Todoroki Shoto. 4,123 Bakugo Katsuki, 1230. Kirishima Ijiro, 460 Takoyami Fumikiage, 300 Ida Tenya, 200. It's crazy. Midoriya has almost 5,000. Denki exclaimed. His jaw dropped at the sheer number of Izuku's requests. I know it's number one, but it's... Rakido was speechless at the number that completely eclipsed the others. Todoroki has over 4,000 requests. They are really too different. Mina shook her head. She didn't have any requests, but it was understandable that she hadn't shown any skill in single combat, so it was strange that she didn't catch the hero's eye. What's amazing is that Bakugo has thousands of requests. Even though we lost the first match, Toru commented before shaking from the angry stares from the people behind him. Yes, but he showed his full potential. I was able to compete closely with Midoriya for first place. Most people on the internet said that if he were in a different class from Midoriya and Todoroki, he would probably be in the semifinals. Hanta said. That's true. Shoji found himself agreeing with the opinions of the people on the net, and the others had no objections. TCH. Katsuki found himself incredibly annoyed when he saw what people on the net were saying about him. To him, it didn't matter if he came in second or last. If not first, it didn't matter. After letting the students talk, Eraserhead called everyone back to themselves. For those who didn't get one offer, don't worry. The school has prepared departments for you. So? I thought I would have to wait for an internship next year. Those who didn't have any hero interests felt relieved that the school was still helping them. Now let's name a hero. But this duty is given to you. Trapped the sound of the door sliding open, Master Midnight. The students were shocked that another teacher had arrived. Myself, Midnight smiled and walked over to stand beside Eraserhead with a cart full of small planning boards and some pens. Since Eraserhead is not good at this kind of thing, it is my duty to give you all some advice on hero names. She began to explain, and Eraserhead went to the corner of the room and burrowed into his sleeping bag. The teacher gives you 15 minutes to come up with a name. Then come out and present in front of the class. Think carefully, because the name of a hero is how you will present yourself to the public. It might be her memory forever. After listening to the instructions, every student walked out, took a small board and a confetti bag, and returned to their seats. As 15 minutes passed, each person started to present their own names. Some were good, some needed to be improved, or some needed to come up with new names. 𝐭𝐴 Killer. Trust him. Izuku could only roll his eyes at the name that came out of the bomber's mouth. Luckily, Midnight Sensei didn't let him pass. He waited for Katsuki to come back, and then got out. This is my name. Izuku turned the board over for his classmates to see. Everything Hero. Faker, this used to be a name I hated. But there is nothing more suitable than this. It's ironic that he would use a nickname that others would mock as his hero's name. But there's no better way to describe him than this. He learns and repeats whatever he's seen or had the same experience as a counterfeiter. So Faker was the most appropriate name for him. After the performance was finished and it was approved, he returned to his seat, and on the way, he secretly saw Katsuki writing a new name on the board. Lord Murder Bomber. What the? Izuku sighed heavily. His old friend seemed really preoccupied with killing, so he decided to lend a helping hand. Mighty Bomb isn't bad, Baka. Shut up, Deku. It was one of the many names they picked up when they were kids, based on who they wanted to be at that time. All Might. Each name that comes out is therefore something like All Might Jr., Mighty Boy, All Man, Mighty Might. Whatever name is used must have the word all or might in the name always, as you wish. It wasn't unusual for Katsuki to not accept help from others. If the other party accepted it, it would be strange. As for the other two people after Izuku, they were able to name their names without any problems, finishing up the hero naming part. In conclusion, there were two people who had problems with their names. That is, Katsuki and Shoto. These two need to use their own names for now. Alright, now that we've finished naming names, I will give you a document that lists the names of the various hero organizations that have sent requests. For those who did not have a request, the school prepared 40 units. Within 2 days, you all go study and choose one organization you want to go to. Eraserhead took over to continue explaining. The internship will last 1 week. All school expenses will be paid, except for food other than the 3 main meals. And that's the end of my lesson. Feel free to act as you please. The 2 teachers handed out documents to the students and left the room. When the teachers were gone, each of them began to talk. The sound of chatter spread throughout the classroom. I'm going to Gunhead's office. Ochako spoke up and made a fist-pumping motion. Congratulations. It looks like you got the person you wanted. Izuku congratulated his friend. And you? Ochako asked. I don't know, but I'm interested in Hawk and Lady Nagant, and then the crust. Not counting All Might and 𝗵𝘃𝗧𝗏, who didn't accept internships. Izuku had every one of the top 10 professional heroes on request, so he was able to narrow down the scope simply by looking at the first 8 on the list. In fact, the top 10 professional heroes are all equally good choices for gaining experience, combat skills, and basic situational management. But what will be the deciding factor in the selection is their quirk, power, and style. Fight in this case, he could cut out best genies and Edgeshot, because their fighting styles were too specialized, while Endeavor would be more useful as a fire user. Yorumusha, being a samurai, was the same case as fire heroes and Ryukyu, who used dragon forms to fight. Definitely not something he could do. Hawk and Lady Nagant are good options for learning how to use weapons and fight at all ranges, while Crust helps with throwing weapons. Isn't that the top 10 pro heroes? Don't tell me they sent you a request. Midoriya-kun. Ochako's eyes widened in shock. He nodded. Awesome. As for me, I'm going to train with 𝗵𝗍𝗻, my brother. Temya spoke up. With your brother. If anyone could train you best, it would be him. Izuku commented. It's so envious to work with family, Uraraka said. That's right. I've dreamed since I was a child to go on patrol with you. Tenya accepted. On the day of the internship, the members of Class 1 gathered at the subway station. Before they headed to their chosen hero agency, Eraserhead gave them hero outfits. I will say it again. Don't wear hero costumes in public, unless you have permission from the hero in charge. And don't lose your clothes. The hero with a power of a negative quirk warns his students. Yes, teacher, Mina replied, and the rest nodded. Finally, the school covers travel expenses and meals throughout the internship. So don't worry about money. Just focus fully on your studies with professional heroes to get the most experience from this internship. It will help you a lot in the future. Is that clear? He asked. Yes, teacher. The students then dispersed to the ticket machines and hopped on the subway to the city where their chosen hero's office was. Izuku watched as the city blocks turned into houses of various sizes. Houses of various sizes were turned into rice fields. And the fields turned into mountains before becoming rice fields, houses, and tall buildings again. Arrived at Saitama Station. Please check your baggage before getting off the train. An announcement came from the loudspeaker. Izuku got up, his body feeling tired after sitting still for a long time. He walked off the train with the other passengers and looked around the crowded station. Izuku flips open his phone to find a map to Lady Nagant's hero office. He chose her in hopes of learning about weapon skills, even though she was known to be a long-range fighter due to her rifle. If she were only good at shooting from afar, it would be impossible. This will hold the top 10 position for many years in a row. He's also seen video clips of her fighting in close quarters with a variety of weapons, including pistols, daggers, batons, wire, and even borrowing a shield from another hero and using it to throw herself against a wall until it hits a villain's head. This was all he wanted to learn. Izuku took a bit of traveling to find Lady Nagant's office building. It was a tall building that could compete with other top hero offices. Upon entering, he was greeted by a staff member, and after business was announced, he was invited up to Lady Nagant's office. "Please allow me." Izuku walked in, knocked on the door, and backed up. "You can come in." A loud voice came from the other side of the door. When permission was granted, Izuku opened the door. It was a typical office, as would be expected from a female owner, decorated with beautiful decorations. There were piles of documents on the table, and, of course, the office owner sat in a chair with a large mirror showing the scenery. The outside of the building can be clearly seen. She has a good-looking and charming face. Her eyes are purple, and her eyebrows are dark blue. She also has long hair the same color as her eyebrows, with many pink streaks scattered about, which is tied into a ponytail with shoulder-length hair. Side covering her face, this girl is 𝗧𝗵𝗵𝗃, or Lady Nagant. The sniper hero wears her usual uniform, except for her armor, which is a simple black bodysuit with no sleeves. "Hello, I'm Midoriya Izuku from the Hero Department of Ua High School." Izuku greeted and introduced himself, trying to keep his shyness down due to the beauty of the hero in front of him. "Hello and welcome to my office, Midoriya. I'm Lady Nagant." Lady Nagant greets him back with a smile. "Please have a seat." She called. Izuku nodded and walked over to sit on the chair. Then Lady Nagant began to speak. "I'll be honest, I didn't expect you to accept my offer. With such strength, you probably have a request from Japan's top 10 pro heroes." "I wonder why?" she asked. "Why did I choose you?" Izuku repeated the question. When she nodded, he spoke up. "Because you use more weapons than the other 9 pro heroes' weapons that anyone can use with training. And you know I can conjure things. But I can't conjure a thing without ever coming into contact with the original and learning about it. A child like me would never be able to find a gun or a bomb, so you are the best choice to get weapons and skills to use them. But aren't you just using your physical strength enough to crush all your opponents?" Lady Nagant protested that the young man in front of her had a type of enhancement that was far more outstanding than that of ordinary people. This ability alone made him a force to be reckoned with. Combined with his wits and out-of-the-box thinking, he became one. It was even more noticeable that if child Todoroki was a mini Endeavor, the child Midoriya in front of her would have to be a mini All Might. But in situations where physical strength cannot be relied upon alone, weapons and fighting skills are important. Izuku replied that his strength would be meaningless in front of someone like Eraserhead, who had the power to disable quirks, or a Namu that could absorb shock. "Oh, well said. I sent the invitation because of this. I see the potential in you. So here, you will learn to fight more than just using your great strength. Of course, the basics of heroes are the same," Lady Nagant said, and Izuku smiled. "Please introduce yourself." The young man responded enthusiastically. "All right, now you probably need some rest after the trip," Lady Nagant said as she handed the keycard to the young man. "This is for your locker and room. I'll have my assistant take you to introduce me to various places." With that, Lady Nagant called her assistant. "Thank you, let's meet in the training room downstairs in the afternoon. We'll practice first. And in the evening, I'll take you out on patrol. So prepare yourself." "Yes, Izuku then turned and walked towards Lady's assistant. Nagant called, waiting outside the room. After taking Izuku to put his luggage in his room, the assistant took him to introduce him to various places in the building, such as the restaurant, combat practice room, a shooting practice room, a fitness room, a recreation room, and more. Izuku took this time to inquire about various things until he was finally brought back to his room. If you need anything, you can use the phone in the room to call. Thank you, Mr. Inao. Once alone in the room, Izuku undressed himself to take a shower and go to bed. He had a few hours to rest before he had to go to work, so he had to rest as much as possible, even though it wasn't easy. Keep excited to get trained to be a professional hero. Yes, he could probably study theory with a professional hero on a daily basis, but it couldn't compare to going out on patrol with a professional hero directly. When it's almost afternoon, Izuku also wears a new and improved hero costume. It's basically a high-neck, hooded bodysuit in the same green and black color scheme, with the addition of goggles and white gloves that go up to the elbows. It's a complete version of the gloves that will cushion the blow. From a punch, May had said that the gloves could withstand the full force of All Might's punches once, but Izuku had absolutely no intention of testing that claim right now. And just like in the legs are reinforced with steel boots to increase their destructive power. After he finished dressing himself, he walked out of the dressing room and into the training room. The training room is a large open space with high ceilings and walls made of concrete and floors covered with thick mats, designed to absorb the impact of falls and bumps. This room was also filled with all kinds of training equipment, including sandbags, weights, and various weapons. When Izuku arrived at the training room, he found someone already waiting for him. It was Lady Nagant itself. As soon as Izuku faced Lady Nagant, in his complete hero set, he couldn't help but feel nervous, as if he were about to fight a professional hero. And he knew that this was an opportunity to learn. Lady Nagant looked at Izuku with determination and amusement. "Midoriya," she said it with a mischievous smile. "I see that you are eager to learn. But let me warn you first. I am not easy on my students. Are you really ready for the challenge?" Izuku nodded. Feeling the determination flowing through him, he knew that this was his chance to prove himself, and he wasn't going to let it slip away. So he took a deep breath and prepared for battle before walking into the right frame. "Draw a line." Lady Nagant watched Izuku with calm eyes. Her hands were held loosely at her sides, waiting for Izuku to reach the center of the field. "Ready, Faker?" she asked by his hero's name. Her voice was firm but kind. Izuku nodded. "Clench your fists tightly as you focus on your opponent." "Ready, Lady Nagant." He said it, his voice full of determination. Lady Nagant nodded and darted off. Her movements were so graceful and dangerous that they could be perceived. Izuku barely had time to respond. He awkwardly defended himself against Lady's fists and feet. Nagant charged. The two men exchanged punches again and again. Izuku could only predict the direction to dodge and parry the attack. But despite his best efforts, Izuku was no match for Lady Nagant's superior skill and experience. He was quickly overwhelmed and forced to retreat. Within minutes, Izuku was lying on the ground, with Lady Nagant standing over him. Her hands clenched into fists, ready to punch her. But Izuku wasn't ready to give up yet. He knew he had to push himself harder if he wanted to improve his fighting skills. So he stood up, determined to face Lady Nagant again this time. He was ready for her. As she attacked, he used all of his skills to observe her movements, deflect her attacks, and counterattack. As the battle continued, he began to gain the upper hand, using his speed and agility from his smaller size to his advantage. "Oh!" Izuku groaned, holding his head in pain from Lady's beating. Nagant jerked out. He almost had her, but in the blink of an eye, the situation had reversed, and he immediately realized that she was just expressing an unfavorable situation. "Come in with everything you've got, Faker," if you want to win. Lady Nagant said it defiantly after retreating to create space for Izuku. Izuku nodded and ran towards her with energy rushing through his body. Lady Nagant leapt back to dodge Izuku's punch before charging forward and delivering a surprisingly swift straight punch. He barely craned his head in time to let the female hero's fist graze his cheek before he could quickly. He leaned in and narrowly dodged the kick that slammed past what used to be his neck. Not bad, Lady Nagant said, and her fist flew towards Izuku's face again. As Izuku moved his head to the side, he barely escaped. Izuku was stunned for a second as he looked at her again. She's so fast, Izuku thought inwardly, his eyes widening from her increased speed as he thought about retaliating when he felt something touch his chest. It's Lady's feet. Nagant crashed into his chest and sent him flying. Izuku roared as his head hit the ground. Thanks to the enhancement, he was fine. Izuku shook his head and gulped before somersaulting back up. Come in, she said. Izuku then charged and fired a punch at Lady. Nagant blocked her with her arms to the side, and Izuku spun around with a full backhand, only to send her away again. Lady Nagant threw a punch of her own, but Izuku changed the direction of the punch and punched it back at the girl's stomach. Pain appeared in her eyes, causing her to fall back with a grunt. Izuku smiled as he charged after him. Lady Nagant raised her arms and prepared to attack. You raise your guard, but I'll take care of this with a kick from the side. Izuku sends out a kick, but Lady Nagant crouches down to let the kick go over her head and cut off her opponent's leg. Izuku found himself off balance and floating in the air, then slammed onto the solid ground again. Lady Nagant bounces into place, ready for the next round. That speed is, Izuku muttered as he stood up. Even though he had body enhancements, Lady's speed is hard to follow anyway. When he thought he had her, she would speed up her movements even more, which made one wonder just how strong she really was. Don't forget that today's human body can be trained to be as strong as someone like you. Even though people like you can go further with the same amount of time, Lady Nagant answered as if she knew the boy's question. Izuku listened intently. She has a point about this. Whether there was an enhancement-type quirk or not, the human body was not the same as it was 100 years ago, because it had evolved to be able to increase the limits of physical fitness. And I told you to come in with everything you've got. Lady Nagant spoke again. Izuku took a moment to think, and immediately realized that lady. What did Lady Nagant mean, and what did he miss? So he tensed his hand and summoned a model of the staff from his memory. Lady Nagant also walked to the staff stand and picked up the staff. All right, let's see how well you can use your weapons. Lady Nagant said this before charging forward. Izuku raised his baton to block the strike, causing him to stagger slightly. He spun around and tried to strike back, but she dove under him and swatted his legs away, causing him to fall to the ground. Don't try to spin, unless your opponent can't counter immediately, a young woman advises. Izuku flipped to his feet and charged Lady Nagant with quick, continuous jabs. Lady Nagant blocked them all before firing her own jab. Izuku flicked the tip of her stick uphill, saw an opportunity to attack, and wasted no time in swinging his stick in a wide arc. But Lady Nagant swung her wand down even faster. Izuku had to raise his staff to defend against the attack from above. The staff in Izuku's hand came down, and a terrifying shock coursed through both of his arms. Izuku lost his balance and was countered by a quick jab to the stomach. Lady Nagant immediately followed and continued the attack. Izuku was barely able to block the attack, and then the two of them were locked in a fierce battle. The sound of wood clashing echoed throughout the room. They fought back and forth. Each tried to find holes in the other's defenses. Izuku could feel the sweat dripping down his face, and he knew that this was the hardest battle he had ever faced. Izuku wondered what kind of internship his friends would face. Isn't that someone who got kicked at a sports event? whispered Boy Yes. And he has a stupid hairstyle. It's like he's imitating 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷. The other kid laughed and pointed at Katsuki's hair. This was, of course, the ultimate comedy for a 6-year-old, and they all laughed. Katsuki growled, wanting to blast the demons with all his might, but a hand touched his shoulder. You must be patient in the face of ridicule, Bakugo. 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷 scolded, looking at Katsuki with solemn eyes. Katsuki muttered for a moment before putting aside her anger and continuing to follow 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷, all things considered. He wasn't happy with his time with that man. His main problem isn't that he's being told what to do. No, it's a bizarre fashion. Okay, maybe he just let the comb slide. Because it doesn't have much effect. But jeans? No way, the jeans didn't match his outfit or fighting style. Sincerely. Katsuki wishes he could be apprenticed to someone else. However, he couldn't change now. It probably won't stop him from hating jeans from now on. Katsuki answered himself in his mind. His constant display of violence was the real main reason why he caught the attention of 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷. A hero who stands out in public service and has a good-looking personality. That's what Katsuki has to learn now, including efforts to stop using violence in all situations. You're getting better at quieting yourself when you're being verbally targeted. That's nice. 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷 commented as they patrolled various parts of the city, considering that a few hours ago the young man in question had acted as if he wanted to blow up his office. This is already very good. At this rate, we expect great progress from Mr. 𝗵𝘃𝗏, Bakugo. Katsuki muttered something like an agreement, mixed with a little annoyance as they walked past the coffee shop. Katsuki suddenly heard the sound of the radio ringing. There's been a bank robbery, and urgent reinforcements are needed. Huh? Katsuki grinned as his hair returned to its original form. This is what he wanted. He thought he'd been listening to 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷's teachings all day. The 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷 sighed. After all this was done, he had to find a gel that could force the young bomber's hair to stay smooth for a long time. Basically, the hero's job is to suppress crimes. When an incident occurs, the police will send a request for support to the nearby hero office. After apprehending the criminal or helping the people, they must also report to the police station. And when the team, the Hero Public Safety Commission, has verified that you have actually worked, they will transfer the salary to the hero office that has notified you. Ochako listened intently to what Gunhead had to say. She had followed Gunhead out on patrol. It was a good experience on her first day as an intern, and she was envious of Izuku-kun's ability to create a notebook to write down at any time, because right now she really wanted to record what Gunhead said. But she didn't bring a notebook with her. But the way he talks is so cute. Ochako secretly thinks about her mentor. A true hero is someone who puts the needs of others above their own, Gunhead continued. It's about selflessness, sympathy, and strong justice. Ochako nodded at Gunhead's words. She always knew that being a hero was more than just fighting villains. She wants to be a hero who helps people rather than fight. But after seeing her teacher almost die from a villain, you know how important it is to fight, too. Tokoyami-kun, don't be stressed out by interning with me. Make yourself comfortable. Hawks introduces the apprentice he brought along on patrol. 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷 only nodded solemnly. An important aspect of patrolling is observing your surroundings. The more extensive our awareness, the more able we are to deal with events. With that, Hawks flicked his wings and sent out bright red feathers to catch the kitten running in front of the truck without looking. Well, understanding your own quirk's potential is also important, especially a quirk who has a mind of its own. While the winged hero was speaking, he sent out the feather again. The feather flew to help a child who was falling from the stairs before taking to the sky and arresting a window cleaner who was about to fall from the beam. 𝗵𝘃𝗁𝐷 could only stare in shock. The person in front of him was worthy of hero number 3. Such amazing quirk control. Look, Tenya, I told you to relax a little. Tensei admonishes his younger brother for acting like a robot. Sorry, I'm a little excited, Tenya said, shuffling her arms around. If you keep doing that, people will be afraid of you, Tensei said, shaking his head at his brother's overly serious attitude. Did you know that appearance is important to a hero? How can people be comfortable if the hero is so serious all the time? Yes, brother. Tenya listened intently. His older brother is a good hero role model. Therefore, he must listen and follow. Ah, there seems to be an accident nearby. Let's go take a look. Follow me. Tensei said this and immediately ran off. Tenya quickly ran after him. Huh, was I wrong? Momo moaned, sighing. Until now, it had been several hours since she arrived at Iwabami's hero office. But she still hadn't received anything related to being a hero, and even had to watch the beautiful hero pose for a photo shoot because she was the highest-ranked hero. I sent an invitation, so she accepted. That is what I think. Kendo Itsuka, the leader of Class B, has the same attitude as Momo. They want to learn about fighting or scouting, not modeling. And while the hero students began their internships, the League of Villains had an important meeting with the hero assassin Stain to persuade the assassin to join the villain group. However, the meeting ended poorly due to their ideology. They are different, but have the same common denominator: the destruction of today's society. After a slight clash, they dispersed. Izuku and Lady Nagant patrol the city, checking for any potential problems. Although the situation is relatively calm, they know they must always be prepared. As they walk, Lady Nagant also gives Izuku some advice, telling him about the importance of being cautious and prepared for any situation that might arise, as well as the need to always be humble and put others first. Izuku listens. Intentionally immerse yourself in her words and try to commit them to your memory. Remember, she said, a hero's work is never finished. You must always be ready for whatever comes your way. Stay alert, focused, and prepared to do what needs to be done. Izuku nodded, remembering Lady Nagant's words. Was in his heart and in his notebooks. He knew he had a lot to learn, but he was determined to be the best hero he could be, so he wouldn't give up. The three main things to remember when arriving at a scene are rescue, evacuation, and suppression. First save people from trouble, then evacuate people away from danger, and then deal with the cause of the problem. Lady Nagant describes her as someone who also keeps a close eye on her surroundings. To be able to do that, one must know one's work area very well in order to quickly travel to the scene and chase down fugitives. Speed of travel is also important. It would be bad if the culprit escapes before we arrive, or there are casualties. Then don't forget to limit the damage zone, because there's no point in evacuating people if it still spreads the fighting. Izuku absorbed the knowledge of professional heroes like a sponge. Even though this knowledge was lectured in class, hearing it from active heroes gave me a different feeling. As the patrol continues, Izuku and Lady Nagant have encountered a few mishaps. But it's nothing they can't handle. They've helped lost children find their way home, settled arguments between two people, and even chased down a group of unruly teenagers causing chaos. In the end, Izuku and Lady Nagant finished their patrol without any major incidents. The next day, Lady Nagant takes Izuku to a shooting practice room. Today we will practice shooting, she said. Lady Nagant gave Izuku a hand-sized pistol. Izuku carefully took the gun, inspecting the barrel and magazine before loading the magazine, removing the safety, and raising the gun to point it at the human-shaped practice target. It looks like you know a bit about using a gun. Hold on tight, but not too tight. You need to be able to move easily but still have control, Lady Nagant advised, demonstrating a proper grip. Izuku imitated her grip, his eyes fixed on the target in front of him. He took a deep breath and then let it out slowly, trying to stay calm. Remember to take time and focus on your breathing. Lady Nagant's voice echoed in his mind. Izuku adjusted his grip on the gun. He felt the weight of the weapon in his hand, as he aimed it at a mock target 20 meters away and pulled the trigger. An explosion sounded. Izuku felt the recoil in his arm. He kept his eyes on the practice target and saw that the bullet had hit the target but was still far from the center point. He moved the muzzle a bit more and fired again. Shoot again when you miss the target. Shoot until you almost hit the midpoint on the last shot. Good shot, Lady Nagant said, nodding in agreement. Izuku felt a satisfaction wash over him. Not that he hadn't fired a gun before when he went to Hawaii on summer break with his father. Midoriya Hisashi had introduced him to guns and taught him how to use them. But due to Japan's gun laws being stricter than quirks, he never had the chance to use them again. I've had some practice shooting guns before, Izuku said. Then I want you to try shooting at moving targets, Lady Nagant ordered after realizing that the boy in front of her was not a beginner in the field of guns. Izuku nodded as he changed the magazine and pointed his rifle up, as he knew this would be a more challenging task. While keeping an eye on the practice target, Izuku began to move his arm, dragging the muzzle of the gun along the practice target as it moved from one point to another. Then pull the trigger. The bullet unfortunately ricocheted off his left arm. Izuku recalculated the bullet's trajectory and fired again. This time, the bullet hit the side of the body. The shooting started to improve in the next few matches, but still didn't hit the halfway point. Excellent. Better than expected for someone with so little experience, Lady Nagant praised him. Izuku continued to practice shooting at various moving targets, trying to improve his accuracy and speed. He felt his confidence increase with every successful shot. Lady Nagant watched him closely. She helped him slightly adjust his posture and grip, and gave him advice and guidance. When the training ended, Izuku lowered his gun, feeling a sense of accomplishment. In addition to restoring his shooting skills, he also made great progress under Lady Nagant's guidance and training. You did a great job, Lady Nagant said, slapping him on the back. Izuku smiled at the compliment. He knew he had a long way to go, but throughout his internship, he was sure he would get exactly what he wanted. On the third day of his internship today, Izuku went out on patrol from morning until noon, after which he practiced with the other heroes working under Lady Nagant. Heroes must always be ready for any situation, Lady Nagant explained as they entered the training room. And sometimes weapons like this can mean the difference between life and death. She handed Izuku a dull practice dagger and showed him how to hold it properly. The key to using a dagger is to hold it close to your body and prepare for a quick attack. Izuku imitated Lady Nagant's expression. Gripped the dagger tightly in his hand. And then Lady Nagant also taught him the basics of dagger fighting, including how to attack and defend himself with weapons. It's not just about slashing at your opponent. It's also about position and timing, she said as she demonstrated quick attacks and blocks. Izuku trained with her, slowly practicing the new weapon. He was surprised by how different it felt compared to using his fists and feet. He had to adjust his movements and reactions to parry the daggers. But with Lady Nagant's guidance, soon was able to use his movements smoothly. Well done, Midoriya, Lady Nagant said, nodding in agreement. You learn quickly, but remember that using weapons like this can be dangerous. Remember to always prioritize your safety. Izuku nodded and remembered Lady Nagant's words, kept in mind that he was grateful for her advice. When their training ends, Lady Nagant warns Izuku that the skills he learned in the training room are just practice. The real test will come when he faces dangers on the road. Stay alert and prepared, she said. Now let's go out on patrol. Izuku followed Lady Nagant out of the training room, feeling more confident and prepared than ever. With her guidance, he knew he could face any challenge. That can wait ahead. In the evening, something urgent came up. Right now, there are villains running rampant in Hosu City, Lady Nagant reported. Are we going there? Izuku asked with excitement deep inside. No, there are already many heroes there. By the time we get there, the matter will probably be over. All we have to do is get ready for tonight." Lady Nagant refused and ordered everyone to get dressed. The patrol went well throughout the night. There were no emergencies, as they thought the criminals would take advantage of the moment. The attention was focused on Hasu City, causing chaos. After completing the patrol, Izuku was about to go to bed to get some sleep for tomorrow, when something happened that made him unable to sleep and made him exclaim, "What the fuck?" The villain who attacked Hasu might be connected to the villain who attacked Yua. Shock. The hero's body was found in an alley in Hasu City. Another victim of Stains. The stain has been captured. 𝗵𝗲𝗏 and 𝐒𝐻𝐢𝐵 collaborate. "Wait, Ida is going to intern with your brother," Izuku exclaimed when he realized that his friend was interning with 𝗵𝗲𝗏. So he quickly contacted Tenya. But there was no response. "Perhaps he's busy, so he'll contact me again tomorrow." However, the story didn't end there. Soon after Stain was arrested, a clip was published on the internet that went viral. It tells the story of Stain himself and his ideology. Izuku admits that Stain has a point when it comes to today's heroes, who only exist for the sake of fame, money, and honor, not because they actually want to help people, causing the word hero to be tarnished. But he disagrees. Killing those heroes because, after all, these heroes are fighting crime is at least beneficial to society as a whole. If the number of heroes decreases, the people who suffer are the people, right? Izuku didn't like Stein's method of dealing with them. Fake hero is a solution to the end of the problem. Instead of Stain continuing his studies and becoming a hero until he is famous enough for society to listen to his ideas, Stain chooses to become a serial killer, killing heroes who are not up to his standards. And then a message came in. It belonged to the person Izuku had contacted earlier. "Ida Tenya. I'm fine, Midoriya-kun. Thank you for worrying. Well then, good night." "Ida Tenya. Good night to you too, Midoriya-kun." It turned out that his friend was safe. That can make him sleep comfortably. All Might's residence. In the morning, Yagi Toshinori wakes up, eats a carefully selected healthy meal, and watches the news on TV before going to work. I'm here. Toshinori's phone rang. He picked it up to answer the call. When he saw the name of the number, his eyes widened, and his legs began to shake slightly. "Hello, Gran Torino. It's been a long time," Toshinori greeted his old teacher. "I saw the news. Toshi, those Namu monsters that appeared in Hasu," Gran's elderly voice said. Torino rang on the phone. "Hero killer too?" "Yes, but the heroes defeated Namu, and the hero assassin Stain was arrested as well." "That's all good news," Toshinori replied. "Toshi, you know that hero assassin is not the reason I called." Gran's tone left no room for any other distractions or news. "Monsters with multiple quirks. A group of fanatics ready to kill children to lure you. A seemingly perfect plan to attack U.S. school. And now, there is a possible connection to a serial killer who targets superheroes. I believe you know what I'm thinking, right?" Toshinori's face changed from a shiver to a grimace when he realized where his sensei was going with this. He hoped there were more clues, or the investigative group he was working with would find the medical experts responsible for creating the Namu and arrest. "I'm sure I know," he replied to his old teacher. "That villain, Stain, has such powerful beliefs in his ideals that even I can't help but get goosebumps listening to them," Gran Torino stated clearly. "To make someone like you say things like that." "But he's already been caught," Toshinori said. "If it ends there, that's fine. But soon after he was arrested, his ideology and opinions were made public on the internet, in magazines, and on TV." Gran Torino took a breath so that Toshinori could hear clearly over the phone. "For better or worse, we live in an era of repression, with many limits on freedom, and with Stain's words, people will be influenced by this. Imitations, but the heroes will handle them just like Stain," Toshinori said with confidence in his colleague. "Then there is a group of villains attacking you." Gran Torino did not dispute his former student's words, and instead brought up another story. The media has already connected it, whether it is true or not. So even if this villain league started as a C-grade gang that attacked UA and was defeated, it would quickly skyrocket into an organization to be reckoned with. Gran Torino cleared his throat quietly. In other words, they are perfect magnets. The evil of individual thugs is not worth much, but when united together, it is 100 times more dangerous. I know, Toshinori admitted it as his free hand clenched into a fist. Everything he had worked hard to build for 10 years was about to collapse at the hands of the hot-headed child. If this situation is what they aimed for from the beginning, then their leader is not one to be overlooked. Gran Torino's eyes narrowed as he continued. Creating chaos, controlling the entire situation from the shadows, and making sure everything goes according to their plans. The way of doing things is. Gran Torino took a deep breath. Nana, who was my friend or your senior as the one for all holder, and the man who killed you, the man who tore your intestines. I think we both know who you know is behind this. All for one, Toshinori admitted with a grimace. His thought-dead nemesis had returned, and the pain of his injuries was still fresh. To think that he survived after I smashed his head into a pulp. I can't believe it. 6 years ago, he should have summoned Endeavor to burn the boogeyman to ashes, so that it wouldn't be an unfinished business until today. Your chosen successor. Gran Torino spoke softly this time. I need to make sure you sit me down and tell him everything about you, about One for All, and especially about All for One. Nana almost wouldn't have told you if I hadn't forced her. I know. Toshinori accepted that with a heavy sigh, even though the deep breaths and exhalations irritated his damaged respiratory system. Toshi, prepare your successor because a big storm is coming, and don't you dare die before me. The elder concluded and hung up the phone. Damn it. Toshinori cursed. He didn't want to pass this burden on to his successor. He should be the one to end the story. But there was no choice. If All for One were to return, One for All would have to have a successor. And that person wasn't far away. I'm sorry, young Midoriya. The next day was training as usual. After fighting practice, he used his free time before going out on patrol to practice shooting under Lady Nagant's watchful eye. Teaches him how to aim and shoot with precision, how to quickly reload, and how to shoot while moving. Seeing that his skills had improved, Lady Nagant also switched to advanced techniques such as rapid fire. Pulling the trigger twice in succession and shooting multiple targets while moving. Izuku found that these techniques were much more difficult than the basics. But with Lady Nagant's guidance, he can do it. Lady Nagant also teaches Izuku about the different types of guns and their uses. He learns about pistols, shotguns, rifles, machine guns, and different types of ammunition. Of course, he made copies of them all for later use. In addition to the aspect of shooting a gun, Lady Nagant also teaches Izuku about controlling one's mind and emotions. She teaches about the importance of discipline, concentration, and control. Izuku knows that these are just as important as the skills one practices. Midoriya, remember that a gun is a powerful tool, but it is also dangerous. You must control your emotions and actions at all times, Lady Nagant said in a serious tone, as just raising the gun and firing it would be enough. It can cause one's life to end. Yes, I understand. Izuku nodded. He knew that using a gun was no small matter. It was just as dangerous as using a quirk. That's why Japan was still strict about guns, even though society was full of them. With superhumans who possess magical powers, the power of guns is no joke. As one wise man once said, quirk may make people unequal, but guns and bullets will make people equal. By the end of his apprenticeship period, Izuku's skills had greatly improved from the first day. Whether with firearms or not, using knives and hand-to-hand combat was, of course, far from being an expert. But at least he was confident that he would not be worthless when the crisis came. As Izuku returns home, the Japanese underground world is having a stir like it hasn't in a long time. Villains gather and begin their move to usher in an era of chaos. Shit. All the attention is being taken away by that damned assassin. The hand-masked youth grumbled indignantly as he shattered the glass in his hand. But at least there's some good news. Thinking that villains had contacted him and asked to join his group was quite calming. The quirk is like a plague. It must be eradicated so that our Yakuza can become great again. The man in the mask with the beak of a bird told his followers, who also wore masks. Their goal is to destroy the quirk from the world, and within that same room lies a little girl who is the key to their goal. She watched the scene before her in fear. "The time of liberation has arrived," said a man, holding a glass of wine and looking down on the city from a skyscraper. Under him were people who agreed with his ideology. Ideology to abolish restrictions on the use of quirk first day of study after an internship. Ahahaha. Hanta and Ijiro burst into laughter when they saw Katsuki's hairstyle. Smooth hair like a nerd? Seriously, Bakugo. Hanta pointed at Katsuki's head and continued laughing. "I didn't expect you to do that with your hair, baka." Izuku tried to hold back his laughter, covering his mouth with his hand, of course, as well as the others. "Stop laughing," Katsuki yelled. "It stays on like this even after you wash it." Katsuki raised his hand, a crackling sound leaving his palm. "Stop it. I'm going to kill you all." Katsuki trembled with anger that the idiotic hairstyle he had been forced to do over and over seemed to be stuck. "Look at that hair. It's the perfect ratio." Ijiro pounded the table next to him as he laughed. "Your bastard is dead." Katsuki pounced on the laughing boy, his ash-blonde hair seeming to return to normal as it exploded. "The hairstyle has changed back." "Too bad," Izuku said regretfully as he held up his phone camera at Katsuki. "It's a shame I couldn't take a photo." "Damn it, Deku." Katsuki shifts his focus to Izuku. He tries to grab him, but Izuku quickly sways his body and dodges. On the other side of the room, the women were chatting, ignoring the men making loud noises. "Wow, she has to deal with villains. How envious." Mina was excited when Kyoka told them about her time at the Death Arms office. It was just an evacuation procedure and general support. There wasn't any real fighting. Kyoka shrugged, curling one of the strings around his index finger. "That's still great," Mina pointed it out. "My part is just training and patrolling." Tsuyu rested her index finger on her chin. "Once we caught a smuggler. I just had a little help." "This is why it's exciting." Mina stared at Tsuyu with wide eyes. "Last week went well for you too, right, Ochako?" Tsuyu turned to her question. "Yes, it was very good." Ochako radiated a strange atmosphere and punched the air. "You're acting strange, Ochako," Tsuyu said, but received no response, as if Ochako were the only person around. "I saw an aura around Ochako," Toru said. Denki was amused when he saw this. He slowly walked up behind Ochako and tried to tickle her waist. But when he dipped his finger in, instead of making Ochako flinch, she slammed her elbow into the lightning boy's face first. He would turn and deliver another uppercut to the chin until the boy was floating, and then return to punching in the air. Seeing this scene, everyone was speechless, wondering what exactly Ochako had done in a week. "I feel like you're going to be apprenticed to the fighting hero Gunhead, right?" Mina said as she crouched down to poke Denki's cheek, who was lying on his back on the ground. "See, Midoriya, I told you that women are demons. They just hide their true nature," Minoru said, trembling in fear. "What did you find, Minta?" Izuku asked in surprise. "Woman demon." Minoru still didn't stop shaking and biting his fingers. Back to the men. Katsuki shifts his focus back to people who laugh at themselves out of the blue, like Ijiro and Hanta. "My work is fun too, but not as much as theirs." 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗃 looked at Tenya and Shoto. "I'm glad you two are okay," Momo said with concern. Yes, you guys are in a city with hero assassins. That's crazy. Minoru stopped shaking and pointed at the group of people who were interning in Hasu City. We are not fighting him. Shoto cleared up any misunderstandings that might have been in everyone's minds. Ida and I are on the outskirts of the battle. A wise choice, Mizo nodded to the pair. I doubt it will end well. But let's just say that even though he looks scary, he's still kind of cool, right? Denki, who was able to stand up, offered his opinion. Have you guys seen the video yet? It cannot be denied that he is completely wrong, Mizo said. His adherence to his ideals is as hot as a man's. Ijiro, who escaped from Katsuki's grip, joins the group. You guys, Tenya shouted loudly. To look at a villain as cool is not worthy of being a hero. I'm really sorry, Denki said with a dejected expression. It's been loud since this morning. A familiar voice spoke from the other side of the room, and the classroom door slid open. Everyone shut their mouths and hurried to their seats as Eraserhead walked into the room. Welcome back, kids. I hope your internship went well. He scanned the room and saw that all the students were listening intently. I will check their internship reports from the hero office in detail. But before that, there is a test regarding the laws and hero licenses. No, Denki slammed his head on the table. It's not a test. Mina collapsed on her desk in tears. I am here. All Might announced this to Class 1A as they stood in front of the training field filled with tube structures where they would practice today. And the reason is their basic hero training. He placed his fists on his hips with his signature smile. It was a long time ago, little man and little girl. How is everyone? He doesn't seem very enthusiastic, Denki muttered. I expected more after the break, Ijiro said, nodding at the blonde. Maybe he's running out of jokes, Hanta guessed at the other boys. Out of jokes? No way. All Might chuckled at the comment. I have lots of backup jokes. Wow, his Golden Age outfit is really cool. Izuku is always excited to learn from his favorite idols and heroes. After completing our live internship, we will use that experience in today's activities. All Might raised his right hand, and his index finger pointed towards the sky. Rescue competition. Tenya's hand quickly shot up into the air. Shouldn't rescue training be done at 𝐲𝐿? All Might shook his head. Young Ida, that place is specifically for training in disaster relief. But remember what I said. It's a competition. This is the Gamma field. He spread his arms wide to introduce the training field. It's a densely concentrated factory zone where many pipes are combined into a complex network and maze-like alleys. For this exercise, I will divide you all into 4 teams of 5 and compete one by one. Seeing that everyone understood, Might then proceeded to explain the training. I will send a distress signal from somewhere inside, and you will all start at the edge of the field in a randomly selected location. It's a competition to see who can help me first. Oh, Ruma shouted in unison. Smiles appeared on many faces as some excitement began to build. Of course, with as little destruction as possible, All Might warned, looking at the hothead who made the bomb and pointing at Katsuki. Stop pointing at me, Katsuki hissed when called out, as his quirk could easily deal massive damage. All right, now randomly select the first group and enter the starting point. All Might pulled out his tablet and pressed the start button. A big screen then displayed a list of names running down before stopping to display the list. Return to running again and stop again like this until all 5 names are complete. Group 1 will consist of Asui, Ida, Todoroki, Bakugo, and Midoriya. Please go to the location next to your name, and we will begin shortly. Yes. The 5 students stepped forward. When you get the signal, you can begin. All Might commanded before jumping off the ground and into the middle of the arena in one move. While the 5 students in Group 1 walked to their designated starting positions, the rest of the class sat on a raised platform with a large screen and speakers. The screen was divided into 5 views. Each corner follows a specific student. Ida-kun is better off on a smooth road, but in a narrow and complicated street like this, wouldn't he be at a disadvantage? Ochako pondered the place, considering what she knew about Tenya's quirk. All of our class's movement experts are there, so I'm not sure who will win against you guys, you know? Mizo looked between 5 screens to determine who had the greatest advantage in this competition. Bakugo can fly, right? Ijiro asked the others because flying would be the easiest way to win, in his opinion. Yes, but Todoroki can do ice slides in the air as well, Minoru said. Hey, don't forget Tsuyu. She's a frog, and frogs are good at jumping long distances, and her tongue can pull itself. Toru offered his own female friend to enter the competition. What about Midoriya? I think he's both powerful and fast, Hanta offered. So all 5 are favorites, so let's bet on first place, Denki suggested. 100 yen to Bakugo. That should be fun. Mina agreed with her lightning friend's idea. 100 yen for Tsuyu. I'm down next to Tsuyu too, Toru said it excitedly. It feels bad, but 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁𝐷 scratched his head, analyzing who had the best chance before placing a bet. I'm down for Bakugo. Ida, Todoroki, Midoriya. The names kept coming in, with each person placing a 100 yen bet on their chosen person, and Momo was called upon to create a pen and paper to keep track of who bet on whose side. These guys, Momo, the only one who hadn't put in any money yet, sighed. Did you know that Ida would scream if he found out there was gambling? Don't let him know, Mina said it excitedly. Come on, Momo. In the end, the girl of creation also had to invest money in gambling. Then it was time for everyone to watch the numbers on the screen countdown. Start. All Might's voice sounded over the speakers, and the 5 students at the starting point rushed out. This kind of test was made for me. Katsuki launches a blast from both hands to the ground to launch himself into the air over an obstacle, and fires a blast backward to catapult himself forward. Look, Ijiro pointed this out. Going to the top is best in such a narrow space. Bakugo is good at flying in the air too. That gives him an advantage, 𝗵𝗃𝗃𝗁𝐷 agreed as the class watched. Kiro, Tsuyu squatted down, flexing her legs and thighs as she prepared to jump with all her strength. The frog-like girl disappeared in the blink of an eye, floating high into the air and landing on several tall plants. With another leap, she passed the building again and landed safely on the roof of the next one. Just like that. Momo was happy with her friend and was amazed at the performance. I told you, Toru laughed brightly as he saw Tsuyu covering such a long distance with each jump. Go, Tsuyu, go, Ochako, and the girls happily cheered her on. Has anyone seen Ida? Denki asked as he saw the locals speeding around the buildings and streets, hardly slowing down. He's gone that far. He must have learned from Ingenium in his apprenticeship, Ochako said as she looked at Tenya. It was clear that the honest teen had learned a lot from his older brother. Todoroki really created the slide. Minoru pointed at the screen of Shoto, who was following Katsuki in rapid succession. And Midoriya. On the screen, Izuku's blurry figure runs and jumps along pipes and rooftops quickly with his parkour skills until he is equal with Katsuki and Shoto before eventually taking the lead. As expected, it won't be a problem for Midoriya at all. Hanta pointed this out to everyone. It's time to rev up, Izuku said. He landed on the cement rooftop. He then crouched down, squeezed out energy, and spread it throughout his body. The excess energy became a bioelectricity that danced around his body. Lady Nagant had been pounding for a week, and Izuku had pushed his body to be able to handle twice as much energy as before without any problems. See you at the finish line, guys. With that, Izuku launched himself as the cement floor collapsed and cracked. He became a blur, shooting straight towards his destination. Within seconds, he reached All Might's body. It took a while for Katsuki to arrive, then Shoto, then Tenya, and lastly Tsuyu. Man, you've all gotten better. Ijiro smiled at his classmates as they all reached the finish line. Then another 5 names were randomly drawn. There is also a screen for viewing at the finish line. Izuku took this time to study his classmates' skills, with almost all of them improving greatly from last week. After everyone had reached the finish line, Might had already explained the upcoming exam and had them disperse in the changing room. While everyone was exchanging words, a short, round-headed, purple student named Minoru was breathing heavily for some reason. "What's wrong, Minato-kun?" From Izuku's question, Minoru's breathing became heavier and more rapid. "Midoriya, come look at this rune. It's an inheritance from Senpai." Minoru beckoned Izuku to look at the hole in the wall that separated the men's and women's changing rooms. Izuku immediately knew what Minoru's purpose was. "That qualifies as sexual harassment, guys." Izuku warns his friends about spying on women changing clothes. "I don't care anymore." Minoru then began to describe the girls' busts and waists as he put his face closer to the holes, and Jack's head was completely stuck in the eye socket. Seeing this scene, some people even turned their heads away because they felt hurt. Minoru shrieked as the jack was pulled back, and Minoru rolled on the ground in distress. Izuku couldn't help but whistle because Mr. Kyoka's headphone cable was able to accurately listen to sounds behind walls and was useful in sneak attacks, and the sound waves that followed also increased their destructive power. Suddenly, a message popped into Izuku's phone. When he opened it, his expression changed to one of curiosity, because it was from All Might had arranged for him to meet at the teacher's restroom. So he quickly finished getting dressed and leaving, along with taking an injured friend to the hospital room. "I'll go first. I'll take Minato to get treatment." After speaking, Izuku grabbed Minoru and left. In the teacher's restroom, the skinny All Might was sitting and waiting, and the atmosphere was very tense, different from last time. "Lock the door," All Might said. Izuku did as he did, then walked over and sat on the sofa opposite All Might. "Young Midoriya, I have something to tell you," All Might said in a serious tone. "The truth about my quirk." "Truth? Didn't you tell me that my quirk stores energy and turns it into strength?" "It's a half-truth." All Might held up his index finger and then his middle finger. "My quirk still has abilities. That is, being able to deliver it to others. A quirk that can be given to others." Izuku was stunned by the information he received. It reminded him of an urban legend of people who would take quirks from misbehaving children in return for those who misbehaved. "I'll give you a quirk." "Don't tell me that legendary person is All Might." "Yes, that's One for All." All Might then tells Izuku the origin story of One for All. It's a history class that can't be studied anymore because the government has forgotten the time when the supervillain ruled Japan, including his identity. In the period after the emergence of quirk, there was a man who awakened the ability to take other people's quirks as his own and give them to others. He created his own army and easily occupied Japan. This man was called All for One, the emperor of the Japanese underworld, the demon lord of the East, the symbol of evil, the boogeyman of the land of the rising sun, etc. There are many names and nicknames used to refer to the first great villain who spread his power throughout the world. As for the name, his reality has faded with time. All for One has one younger brother. This younger brother is quirkless, but despite having no special powers, he still resists his older brother's actions, until one day, All for One gives his younger brother an accumulated power quirk. All One's younger brother, who was thought to be powerless, actually had a hidden power: the ability to give quirk to others. So when these two powers came together, they formed the quirk named One for All. But even so, the younger brother knew that One for All right now couldn't fight against All for One because it would take time to accumulate power. So he gave this quirk to someone he trusted with the determination to stop it. Stop All for One. One for All was passed on to person after person, each of them hoping that One for All would eventually grow strong enough to take down All for One. After so much destruction and death, the 8th owner was finally able to take down One for All. So One for All is more than a quirk. It is a time-traveling determination to save the world from the devil. At this, Izuku couldn't help but feel goosebumps at All Might's words. A power passed down from the past to deal with evil, travels full of blood and death, fighting in secret battles that no one knows about to protect the people. It's truly worthy of a hero's power. But wait. If All Might had already defeated All for One, then why did you tell him this story? Oh damn, All Might continued before Izuku opened his mouth. But evidence gathered recently shows that All for One may still be alive and running around Japan with some plans. All Might looked sad. And I don't think I'm strong enough to stop him again. Izuku nodded to say that he was listening. It makes sense that All Might would be worried. If All for One was truly able to take the quirk, then it would mean that he had to recover from the last battle by adopting a regenerative quirk to heal himself. While All Might couldn't do that, another confrontation between the two would be the inevitable death of All Might. So I want you to take One for All, All Might said. I will, Izuku answered without hesitation. Even if you have to fight that man who nearly killed me and killed all the previous occupants, All Might asked, his heart wanting Izuku to deny him, not wanting to pass this burden on to anyone. But Izuku didn't live up to All Might's expectations. I'll do my best. Izuku still insisted on his previous words, even though fighting an immortal demon lord seemed a bit scary. But even if he didn't admit it, he couldn't avoid the upcoming battle anyway, because fact that the Namu appeared in 2 events shows that All for One has prepared a plan to use the Namu to do something. So instead of lamenting about their own weakness when the war comes, he will to strengthen themselves do it now so you don't have to regret it later. Thank you, All Might said. So, may I ask why you chose me? Izuku asked, wanting to know why he was chosen out of all people to inherit such power. When hearing the question, All Might smiled slightly before answering. Heart of a hero, daredevil, and control of power, you gave up the opportunity to save Uraraka, even though it was a test with security measures in place. And then you came to save me from a villain, All Might explained. Similarly, she can control her own power very well, which means that it is not difficult to control One for All's power as well. So she is the most suitable choice. Okay, Izuku accepted All Might's reasoning. There was silence between the two of them before All Might became the destroyer by transforming into a muscular body. Then let's get started, All Might said with a bright smile before pulling a lock of hair out of his head and holding it in front of Izuku. Eat this. What? Izuku stammered in confusion. One for All was transferred through DNA, All Might be explained. It's simpler than it looks, Izuku thought to himself, thinking he had to drink All Might's blood or hold hands with him to channel his power. Izuku took in All Might's golden hair and stared at it for a while before putting it in his mouth and pouring water over it.